You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Monday after a tremendous sports weekend. Hope you had a good one as well. Less than 2 weeks until the big holiday. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Well rested yesterday after a long Saturday.
What'd you have Saturday?
Our Christmas party.
That's right, but only if you have kids.
Right.
You know, people, like
but
me.
It's families.
Right.
Well,
Not, we don't qualify.
No.
Our child is too old.
Well, you would have qualified if your daughter still lived with you, but that would be a little awkward since she's in her mid-20s.
Right. Well, but it's not unheard of.
No. I just said awkward.
Right. So that was the qualifier. If child's still at home. So if our daughter was still at home, we would have qualified.
I would have invited you because she would have had fun. She could have watched a lot of the kids, giving the parents even more of a break.
So you would have used us to take advantage of the situation.
Well, her more than the two of you, but yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, but the
wife would have jumped right in too. I wouldn't have had to use her. No. She would have volunteered.
Totally. You would have had baby. You would have had your own babysitting at the party. Would have worked out great. Adults would have drank more, stayed longer.
I don't know if that's possible.
Well, it sounds like a good time then. All right. I had a really nice weekend. Got a chance to, after the show on Friday, I was in Minneapolis, got out.
Right.
Made it probably by about 90 minutes, I'd say, because about 2 hours before the flight, it started snowing and it was sticking immediately.
Well, when it's cold like that, when the ground's frozen since October, it tends to do that.
So, got out, which was good. Not everybody got out. And, made it to Jersey. That's where mom is. And so I was able to have dinner with her Friday night. Then, Army-Navy game Saturday and spent Saturday night, drove back to mom's. Actually spent the night Saturday night. We had breakfast Sunday.
Did she have your bed made for you? Were you going with the old NFC, AFC sheets?
So you had those too, huh?
Damn right.
And the AFC was like reddish orange and the NFC was blue.
Blue.
Yeah. That's a great reference. That really is. Yep. I had those suckers.
Twin bed.
Absolutely.
Hospital corners. Your mom was a nurse. There's not a doubt in my mind that thing was tucked tight for you.
All right. Would always be flipping the pillow, wanting to lay on the blue because I rooted for an NFC team. Right. It's funny. Now, did sleep on the couch, though. They got a new couch, and they literally said, we need you to break it in.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. So I slept on the couch.
Couch was too firm for them.
Apparently. So.
Let the big guy sleep there. Break this sucker in.
Right.
All right.
So my mom lives with a very good friend. I've always referred to her as Aunt Kathy. They were two divorced women at the same time, and neither one of them had enough money to buy a house or a townhouse. So they actually said to one another, want to pool the money? And since Aunt Kathy chipped in a little bit more, she got the master bedroom.
That's how it works.
And they've been in it for 38 years.
That's how it works.
And so Aunt Kathy politely said to me, we're two little old ladies. Our feet don't hit the floor on this couch. We need you to break it in.
I'll tell you what, that's a mistake in buying. I'm just going to tell you, one of the things you have to do when you're out looking for furniture is you got to sit in that couch and make sure that the feet hit the floor, that whatever corner it is you're going to watch TV from.
I agree. I'm with you. So, they helped bring out the Christmas tree. They waited. They kept it in the basement till they knew I was coming, brought out the fake tree, which is far more money than, 17 real trees, but that's a whole other story. So there you go.
Yeah. Hey, all I know, David, is after the first year in our house, when I needed 3 people to get the real tree inside my house,
right,
we went with the fake tree immediately.
I remember that. I do. And flew back yesterday and had a few issues, but then got home in time. The wife and I drove around the neighborhood. There was a church that did a nativity, they kind of
live nativity scene.
Yeah. And so we did that, and then we drove around a couple neighborhoods to take in the lights.
Did they go with a live Jesus? Did they have a little baby, or was that
Well, it was kind of covered up. I think it was like one of those soap opera babies.
Yeah.
It was covered, and we're led to
We're
believe
led to
there's
believe
a baby
that.
there.
Right.
hmm So I think it was one
It's
of
a
those.
good Christmas poll question. Would you let your baby be Jesus in the live nativity scene?
Don't you have to put a time limit on that?
Yes.
Because those things are 2 hours usually.
Right.
And so it's kind
That's
of
why you have to have twins. You need both, you need the Olsen twins.
It's kind of like, listen, I'll give you 30 minutes. Okay. I'll donate ours for 30 minutes. But after that, we got to switch it out.
At some point when a shepherd comes in, we're switching baby out,
Right.
one out for baby two.
It's like when you were waiting, the cars were waiting 3 deep or 3 across anyway. And there was a guy on an organ playing Christmas stuff. And you know me, I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to say, hey, are you doing the whole 2 hours?
Taking requests?
Right. Does somebody come in and replace you? I did think it, but I had my wife and mother-in-law in the car. I wanted to roll down the window and go, do you do Piano Man? But I thought that would be out of line.
Well, it was already probably bad enough that you were listening to the Bucs Bills game in the car while this was going on.
Oh, no. The Sirius XM Christmas channels were on. Oh, no. They were going from one to the other.
Oh, there's so many of them. You can't even keep track anymore, David.
So, oh, no. I had no shot last night. Are you kidding me? I've been gone so long, I'm barely a member of the family.
It's that time of year for you.
Right.
It's why Christmas is big around the Moulton house. It's the time that they welcome you back in.
My wife asked me this morning, quote, are you going to be around in April? I went, well, I was planning on it.
April's always been good for me. I don't travel a lot.
Right. So there you have it. Miller and Moulton on this fine Monday. We hope you had a great weekend. We hope the holidays are taking shape and your plans and able to get your hands on stuff. It's not easy these days. Sometimes stuff is hard to find, and there's shipping delays. Maybe you were able to purchase stuff and you're worried stuff's going to arrive.
I am. I've purchased a lot of stuff on their telephone.
Right.
And not all of it's from the good folks at Amazon where I know exactly when I'm going to get it. I've gone off the path a little bit with gift giving. And yeah, it is a anxious moment. I mean, we've got 2 weeks. I feel like I'm in good shape, but you never know.
It's really only a week and a half, though. All right. It's coming up. It's coming up fast on the outside. Is it me, or because all I'm hearing about is Tom Brady beat the Bills again? And don't get me wrong. Come on. You and I love Brady. We loved Brady when he was in New England.
Right.
This isn't just a Tampa phenomenon. You and I are consistent. We love greatness.
It is so funny because I had to go through this with the family again this weekend because my wife, I do give her credit. She is the first one that openly discovered this to my knowledge, that Tom Brady is not referred to as Tom nor Brady. And I started telling you that because I'm going, listen to Joe. Whenever you do a game, it's Tom Brady, Tom Brady, Tom Brady. It's not Brady back to it's Brady back to pass. During the games, it can be Brady, but the rest of the time, whenever he's referred to, it's Tom Brady. And so Romo's going through, and I could spend days on how bad that broadcast can be.
Okay.
But Romo's, talking about Tom Brady and his guts and his guile and whatever things he's going to make up to make himself sound better. And my wife just goes, Tom Brady. And I just said to her, I said, honey, he's the greatest quarterback to have ever played the game, and we are lucky enough to be able to watch him in our lifetime. I'm sorry.
And her response to
she walked out of the room.
You know what, though? Good for her. She is going down on this to the end. This is her stance on Brady. It has been since day one you've met her, and she is going to just pound this stance out to the end.
She's dying on that hill.
She is.
She's dying on that hill, David.
And I love her for it. I think it's great. You want to take a stance? I don't like Tom Brady. Oh, okay, honey.
And it's not even that she doesn't like him. It's not, it's
right.
It's how everyone else fawns over him, and she's a Steelers fan, and it kills her.
Well, that's
it.
Deep down, that's got to be it, because she's a Jeter fan.
Right.
And so you must have looked at her and gone, come on now, your favorite baseball player
it's him.
Right. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe when we take in the Panthers game in January, maybe that'll be it.
So is it me and listen, I know, coming in, he was 32-3 against the Bills and this, that, and the other thing. And, the first half, he and they were terrific. But come on, did the officiating not determine the outcome of that game?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a very simple question.
Yeah.
Did the officiating determine the outcome of that game? I think the answer is yes. And that sucks.
And I think it was a poorly officiated game throughout. There were Evans on an interference call that didn't get called at one point. I mean, there were plenty of points to say,
right.
And it stinks because it was a really competitive, really good,
yes,
really hard-fought game, and I don't want to be doing this show 6 a.m. on Monday going, the refs jobbed the Bills.
And they did, but you're right. There's a lot of other elements, and Josh Allen's amazing. This just in. Amazing. Now, I hope he's healthy.
Me too.
Because he was a one-man team yesterday. He almost single-handedly took down one of the 5 best teams in the NFL.
Who doesn't allow anyone to run on him, but apparently can, quarterbacks can still get it done.
That only pertains to running backs.
Right.
We learned yesterday. Quarterbacks apparently can run on the Bucs. Just the 4th player to ever throw for 300 and rush for 100 in a game in league history.
And, we get a decent amount of duds at 1.
Yeah.
And then it looked as if we were going to get duds.
Noon. All 4 looked awful.
And all of a sudden the Bills and the Bengals
go OT.
Start going.
Yep.
In the second half. And the Bengals were stopped by George Kittle.
Yeah. And
No. Kittle by himself. No. I
thought the Bengals kind of got in their way at the end too. They were doing great. Down 14, they just opened it up. They put it in Burrow's hands. They get to overtime. They're driving. They're going to score a touchdown. They're going to win the game. And then all of a sudden they decided, let's play it safe.
But Kittle's catching regulation. Kittle's catching overtime on big, big plays. Just great stuff. Great stuff.
He's a beast. He really is.
Well,
because he's also him and Gronk are the 2 best blocking tight ends in the league too.
I mean, that position right now, I think we are witnessing the beginning of the tight end generation, if you will.
Of a golden age.
Because with Kittle and Kelsey and Gronk, I mean, this Knox kid's not all bad either in Buffalo. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that 3-4 years ago, I think we would have thought of, well, this guy's going to be,
Well, let's be honest. It's guys who used to be power forwards.
Yes.
I mean, we've got power forwards now playing tight ends.
Right. Karl Malone would have been a tight end.
Right. Well, people have joked if LeBron played, football, and he did in high school, but if LeBron played football, he'd be a tight end.
Yes. That could go out wide too.
And he'd be an unstoppable force. Right. Miller and Moulton. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Thanks so much for being with us. We got a great show lined up. We'll talk a little Bucs. We will get to the absolute grease fire that is so big.
Losers.
It might be the biggest story in sports right now.
Bunch of losers.
And I don't know if the Jacksonville Jaguars have ever been the biggest story in sports ever. We will get to that as well. Miller and Moulton, thanks for joining us, the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Because I don't think we've never told him what his job is.
No.
His job is to push buttons. You know, the promo, you got to make promos. Okay. But, you know,
Right.
I was even going to talk to Cassio and say, hey, John, would you help write this?
Okay.
You know, I mean, and I'm not trying to be mean about it. Like, it's not, but it's just like, you know, I thought about this. It's like, no one's helping him. And it looks like no one's going to.
Oh, we will.
But that's what I mean.
We'll take them under our wing. By the way, we're already over 50. 6:15.
It's where we usually, I mean, Mondays are big. Mondays have been far and away.
Hey, Sharpenter. All right. I don't know if you're a Steelers fan or not, or if you were just picking TJ Watt out of a lineup there, but let me tell you, Steelers fan better hope that a lot of people are getting smacked by TJ Watt. He's missed 2 games, and he's missed large parts of 3 others.
That's worse, fam. Don't care how you slice it. Unless the car is a Bentley, I'm getting off better than you.
Wow. Yep, that is worse. It's at least a half a step worse. Could be a full step. Well, and Sharpenter, you say when will tight ends get paid like they should? I mean, don't Kittle and Kelsey make like 14? I mean, it's not top end number 1 wide receiver money, but it's pretty damn good.
I went to bed early last night. I did not watch hardly any of the Green Bay game, but I knew I'd wake up 4 times because that's just my life. And I wake up and I'm looking like, oh, he threw 4 touchdowns.
It was the last 8 minutes of the second quarter was bat blank crazy. And I went to bed after that. NBC will not disclose why it is Michelle Tafoya has missed the last 3 games. They said she's coming back this coming Sunday. She's missed 3 games in a row. And they said, well, Al's missed 2 and Chris has missed 1. We're basically load management with our announcers. That's their official thing. And what I'm wondering is, see, everybody is tracing it back to she went on The View, and Michelle Tafoya is a conservative. And I don't know if they knew that on The View. And so she, gave her stance on things, and basically, that was getting shouted down by the audience and the hosts. And so people are tracing it back to that, but it can't be because she did like 3 games after The View. I'm wondering if she got sick. I hope everything's okay.
Hey, JS, I want to ask you a question.
Yep.
Because we did not know the answer to this. And yes, we David and I actually spent 10 minutes talking about that this morning. I was here as early as I've been in a long time. When they asked the lap traffic to basically get off the track, is that at all commonplace? Does that happen? Because I'm not an F1 guy. It seems effed. We know in NASCAR, they kind of take the bottom lane and the guys go pass them around, and it's an unwritten rule, if you will. So help me, JS, with if that was way out of the norm.
Because it seems it to us, number 1, and it seems it to us, number 2, because during the 5 laps that they were just driving around during the caution, they originally said, no, the lap cars are to go nowhere. And then they changed their mind.
Yeah, is there any precedent? That's really my only question.
25 seconds.
Show me your resume and convince me you're not a loser. I'm glad Adam can joke about it.
What else So, Adam, you'll love this. My buddy's a friend of mine. I shouldn't even say good acquaintance. Rich dude, travels, big Lions fan. Was in the Jacksonville airport with a Lions shirt and a
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. You know it was a crazy weekend when you're getting F1 comments, whether it be FSN Radio 21,000. Send FSN Radio to 21,000 if you want to text the show, if you haven't done so already, or if you're watching/listening on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. Formula One comments. That's how crazy this weekend was.
And we'll just leave it at that.
Right. More on that in the starting five coming up in 15 or so minutes.
Kind of figured.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on now. It does make the starting five.
Okay.
It is worthy of the starting five.
All right. Let me just ask you a simple question.
Go.
How many teams with records beneath 500 will make the playoffs?
Oh, boy. Right now,
there's two, right?
no, just one.
Just one?
Just one. Washington.
Okay.
Washington's holding down the 7 seed at 6-7. So basically what you're asking me is there are 5 teams that are 6-7 in the NFC. Can one of them go 3-1 the rest of the way? Because that would get them to 9-8. And then,
Right.
and then the answer would be none.
Exactly.
So can any of those 5 teams go 3-1 the rest of the way, post 9-8, and probably be the 7 seed?
Absolutely.
I would have to bet one of them can.
3-1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Washington, Philly, Atlanta, New Orleans, Minnesota. So 2 from the east, 2 from the south, 1 from the north.
Well,
Can one
Washington
of them go
and
3-1?
Philadelphia play each other twice.
There you go. There you go.
And since none of these teams can win 2 games in a row, David.
Although
No. There you go. Like you say, it's so matter-of-factly, well, they're going to sweep the Eagles. Because you know what's happened with a lot of bad football teams this year, David? They've swept their opponent.
I didn't say that. You and I bet on splits. We always bet on splits amongst mediocre teams. I was just going to point out Washington had their 4-game winning streak snapped yesterday. So even bad teams, can
Right, the
put a little
Dolphins have done it.
Right. They can put a little something together.
The Vikings get to play the Bears twice, along with the Rams and Packers. Hey, kids, it ain't happening.
It could. You know me and my I'm going to die on that hill, Mark.
You are going to die on the hill. There's no doubt.
Mike Zimmer is taking me down. I'm going down with Zim.
I'm just telling you, the way this year has gone, this league has showed us that it's this capsule. This is a Pete Rozelle dream. This is parity times 5,000.
We shouldn't be shocked, though. I mean, the Bears were the 7 seed last year at 8-8. Well, now we're playing an extra game. If you're a mediocre at best team, there's a good chance you'll lose it, especially since you're playing someone from the AFC, and there are more good teams in the AFC than there are in the NFC this year. And the 17th game this year is the NFC visiting the AFC.
Right.
So
in theory, that should be more losses for NFC teams.
Right.
It just should.
So you could see where the 7 seed this year could and or will be 8-9. What a tiebreaker that will be, by the way, if it's 8-9. Because if we have 5 teams tied at 6-7 right now, you got to figure we'll have like 3 of them tied at 8-9 at the end of the day, at least.
Right. We have the Chargers right now in at the 5 at 8-5.
Correct.
And then we have the Colts, the Bills.
Well, hold on. That's Mark Miller's Indianapolis Colts, because you've been dying on that hill since they were 1-4.
You're right.
So, I mean, you at least deserve credit.
Thank you.
Because you are going down on that hill.
I'm going down on the hill. I jumped on a couple other hills. I jumped on an Atlanta Falcon hill at one point, but I jumped right off of that hill. They lost that week, and I was done with them.
No, the Colts was a mountain for you.
Yes.
You and I have gone mountain climbing on the Vikes and the Colts.
You are correct, sir. So you have the Colts, the Bills, the Browns, the Bengals, and the Broncos, all at 7-6.
Correct.
The Steelers are at 6-6-1.
Just a half a game back.
And the Raiders and Dolphins are 6-7.
Correct. Dolphins are a game out of the playoffs, yet they're the 13 seed in the AFC.
Right.
That's how messed up things are right now. I'll say this, though. Buffalo's the 7. That is not a first round game. Like if you're Tennessee right now, the 2, and you go, hold on a second. We went 13-4 and we get the Bills. I mean, that's not, that won't be easy if that's the case.
By the way, I still think the Bills are winning 10 games. Like I think the Bills are clearly going 3-1 the rest of the way.
Well,
we've said that.
Well, I will say Josh Allen walking around in a boot after the game, and he's going to be examined today. But remember, they do have Trubisky. And you can think and say whatever you want that you wouldn't want him to be your starting quarterback, your franchise quarterback. But as far as backup quarterbacks go, that's a top 3 backup quarterback in the league. I mean, he did take 2 teams to the playoffs.
Do they still have Jake Fromm?
No, they lost him in waivers to the Giants.
Yeah, he was going to play this week for the Giants.
Right.
He was at the point where
he should have, because Mike Glennon's starting record's like 5-23.
And all 5 of those were with the Tampa Bay Bucs or I think the Chicago Bears in the first couple of years of his career.
But I'll tell you what, Mike Glennon's made like $40 million. That is just tremendous. We should all go like 5-23 and make the money that Mike Glennon has made. I mean, it ain't Sam Bradford money, but
well, there isn't much that is, David. Oh, now you got me doing this.
There are a few guys who continue to cash checks. You get that $2 million backup job, and then if you can get that one contract, and Glennon did.
Right.
Glennon, the Bears, I think, offered him like $15 million to be their plug-in starter one year. I think he started like twice.
$16 million for the record.
Yep, there you go.
For those playing at home, I'll give you a couple seconds to come up with your total. He's played 9 seasons in the league. His first season, rookie year, he made $1 million with the Bucs with salary and bonus. He's played 9 years in the league. The total salary, $31,967,539.
Let's give it up to Mike Glennon.
Damn right.
That's over $1 million a start right there, ladies and gentlemen. Come on now. Let's give it up. Well done, sir. You and your agent.
Yeah,
done.
And over half of it comes from 2 years in Chicago.
There you go.
So it really isn't you or your agent. It's your agent understanding who the Chicago Bears are.
Only needed to con one guy.
Right.
Matt Flynn. Okay. Con Seattle.
Right.
All right. Played that one game against the Lions through 7 touchdowns.
Right.
Gets the $10 million contract. Doesn't even start because they discovered this Russell Wilson guy in the draft. Right. Matt Flynn got paid. That's all that counts. Miller and Moulton.
Still hoping one day to get paid.
We have not been able to con that one guy.
But we think we're close.
Hopefully, we're conning you into continue to listen to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. But on a lot of different fronts. not Doyle, whoever the tight end is, as Romo says, you got to keep running there. He stopped, or was it Romo? It was it was the tight end Olsen. Because he sat down in that zone. He goes, when you're running that with the quarterback, you've got to keep running with the quarterback. He goes, he's open here. Look, if he keeps, Olsen did a really good job of breaking it down. He goes, but he stops, linebacker who's 2 steps behind the play.
Boom.
But it just one of those when you're watching and you can see it happening. It's like, oh, look at this. I don't know about that, Adam. I will say, and if that's the case, he could take him to a Super Bowl.
I was going to say, Adam. I mean, come on. You were 6 minutes from the Super Bowl with Blake Bortles. Come on.
And I think Mitch is fine to get you through 2 games.
Yeah, I mean that. Once again, it's not to be your franchise quarterback, but if your starter were to get hurt and you needed somebody, I mean, you name me 3 better backup quarterbacks. Seriously.
The kid in Arizona has been pretty good this year.
Yeah, well, it's Colt McCoy. I mean, he's been in the league 12 years.
Colt McCoy. That's one.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to find him.
Trey Lance.
No.
Oh
No, he hasn't played for you. No. Trey Lance, if he was any good, he'd be starting over Garoppolo.
Okay, Andy Dalton.
No, not now.
No, come on.
That's close.
The Red Rifle.
Not now. 5 years ago, I'd say yes. I don't think
close.
now.
In Buffalo's offense, though, they need Trubisky's legs because they can't run the ball. So I would actually say, if for Buffalo, I would take Trubisky over Dalton. Chad Henne's in Kansas City. Check down Chad. Probably a top 5 backup quarterback. Remember, we're talking.
I'll tell you what, Huntley played
quarterback.
really well yesterday, fam. He threw a pick that was bad, but he made some good
Baltimore
throws.
Guy?
Yeah. He played his tail off yesterday. Now, I don't know if he can do it week in, week out.
Who's the guy they keep saying is going to replace Ben?
He sucks.
Well, I know.
Mason Rudolph?
Yeah. I mean,
No,
Trubisky
he's
or
terrible.
Rudolph? Of course you're going to take Trubisky.
I might take Haskins over Rudolph.
That's an interesting take, Jimmy. I mean, there's a lot of there with Urban from other jobs. That's the different thing.
Keenum?
That's interesting. Once again, for Buffalo, I'd take Trubisky because they need an athletic quarterback because the line's not good and they don't have a running game. But that's why if you're Cleveland, that's a top 8, which is a quarter of the league. Case Keenum is a top 25% backup quarterback. Absolutely.
Okay, another quarterback that might not be good for Buffalo, but where is Nick Foles?
3rd string in Chicago.
3rd string.
3rd string.
Okay, so he's still in Chicago. So they have Dalton and Foles.
Correct.
I mean, that's a
Holy cow.
pretty deep quarterback lineup.
Oh, wow. Pollock's even chiming in on Urban. Vrabel runs. Did you see the handshake?
Yeah.
Also, Matt Flynn threw for 7 touchdowns in a game.
Final game of the regular season. Was a throwaway game, didn't count. So Rodgers didn't even take a snap. Yeah.
And then the
And he
Seahawks
said
paid him.
Matt they have 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Green Bay Packers history, and the guy who holds the record for most touchdowns in a game is Matt Flynn.
Oh,
All right. Hutchinson got 78 first place votes. If Hutchinson, how many first place votes would he have gotten? I'm telling you, half. Write it down now.
out of how many votes?
He had 78 first place votes. He had the 2nd most first place votes.
Oh my God. 25 seconds.
Who finished 2nd?
He did.
Yeah. Well,
No,
right. I mean, I'm guessing the margin.
oh, 648 to 78.
Right.
No. But
It sure did, Toddy.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
24 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Text the show if you aren't already in our text club. Membership is very easy. Text FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio to 21,000. You do it one time, you're in. You can text for as long as we're on the air. Or if you're watching and listening via the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel, Twitch chat room's right there. I mean, throw it at us. Let us know what's on your mind. Right now, what's on our mind is
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
game of the day. Bucs Bills. Do you agree with that? Game of the day?
Oh, yeah.
Even though it was 27-10 with 11 minutes to go. Buffalo came all the way back. They were inside the 10. 20-plus seconds to go. Controversial non-call late. Bills have to settle for a field goal. Then in overtime, some more officiating controversy. Tampa, the benefit of the late officiating controversy, as Mark pointed out earlier. Not a well officiated game throughout. Calls late, all benefited the Bucs. And then Tom Brady. And, of course, everyone had Brashad Perryman in their overtime pool, right?
Exactly.
How many catches did he have before overtime? 0. But he caught a 58-yard game-winning touchdown pass from you-know-who. Bucs improved to 10-3. They've won 4 in a row, 33-27 over the Bills. A disastrous week for the Bills. They lose to the Patriots on Monday, lose to the Bucs on Sunday. And did they lose Josh Allen after a historic performance, literally only the 4th player to ever throw for 300 and run for 100 in a game? He's going to be examined today. He left in a walking boot. He seems to be the Bills' offense right now. Leonard Fournette with over 100 and a rushing touchdown. Brady with 363 and 2 touchdowns. And they should run the table.
I just liked Brady running yesterday.
How about that? Did you hear Bruce Arians' quote after
That
the game?
blank's got to stop.
Enough of that.
Oh, yeah,
blank.
enough of that blank. That's what it was.
And if you're wondering what blank is, it's 4 letters, and it starts with S and ends with hit. The Jags lost again, and they did something they haven't done in 12 years yesterday. They were shut out.
And that pales in comparison to all the noise that's around the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, that means that is the most insignificant Jags stat that's out there right now. The post-game handshake was far more interesting than any part of that loss.
When the best part of the last 72 hours for the Jags was Tennessee 20, Jacksonville nothing, you know you've had a bad 72 hours.
Wow. I mean, we will get to more Urban. It will be the crux of our poll question today. Oh, man.
Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions. In amongst all of this, let's face it, this is really the only thing that counts, is the development of the franchise quarterback. I mean, honestly, the coach, and it's a grease fire, and they have a bad record again on the top 3 draft pick, whatever. The only thing that needs to come out of this year is development of the franchise quarterback. And right now, there does not seem to be a lot of developing of the franchise quarterback.
Well, when it's pointed out that the franchise running back, well, actually, the franchise running back's hurt, but their running back, who turned out to be this really good free agent that they signed, didn't play for large parts of the game the previous Sunday, and Urban couldn't even answer as to why. Marvin Jones, the one free agent they signed as a receiver, apparently walked off the team and had to be begged just to come back to play professional football.
Right.
There are problems in Jacksonville, David.
Urban said that didn't happen, by the way. And
Urban said he didn't call the coaches losers.
Right.
I'm guessing by the end of the week, Urban will say he was not at his own bar after the Thursday night game in Indianapolis. Urban Meyer, we all know this, is a professional liar.
Right. He is
a professional liar. This is not a new development. This has nothing to do with anything that's happened in the last 72 hours.
Right.
This is a long documented fact.
Yes.
The man is a bold-faced liar.
He's good at it.
Yes.
I mean, he's very good at it.
Yes.
I mean, he lies right to your face, and you think to yourself, oh, that man's telling the truth. He's good at it. The Jags are not good at football right now. They're 2-11. Cleveland, in an absolute must, jumped out to a big lead, held off the Ravens 24-22. Lamar Jackson hurt. Second quarter, didn't return. Ravens have suddenly lost 2 in a row, and they host Green Bay Sunday. Thank you very much. The AFC North, Mark, is getting very interesting. You know, the right 10-7 might win that division.
All I know is that the Steelers are going to finish last.
Probably. Dallas, Mike McCarthy guaranteed a win, and they delivered. The game not as close as the final score, 27-20. Cowboys basically clinched the East yesterday. They have a 3-game lead with 4 to play on both Washington and Philly. I mean, they won the East yesterday. Now they're the 4 seed right now, and if they win out, there's a very good chance they're going to be the 4 seed. But hats off to the Cowboys. Went on the road, beat a division rival, pretty much wrapped up a division title yesterday. Do you think the Chiefs remembered that last year the Raiders beat them in Arrowhead and took a victory lap around the stadium with the bus?
Yeah.
And posted it?
Yeah.
I think so. 48-9. Chiefs, they're on a roll. They've won 6 in a row.
And their defense has been terrific.
Yes.
That's the thing I think everybody needs to pay attention to, is how well their defense has been playing.
First place showdown at SoFi Thursday night. Chiefs with a 1-game lead on the Chargers.
Boy, and the Chargers have gone through a month where they've played some pretty mediocre football, and they're still just a game back. They win this week. They're tied for first.
Green Bay in what was a very entertaining and at times wild game, but Aaron Rodgers does own the Bears. By the way, if he owns the Bears, what is Tom Brady? What's the word for him with the Bills? Anyway, 45-30 Green Bay. Packers are 10-3. Bears are 4-9. Remember, Bears don't have their first-round pick. It goes to the Giants. San Francisco, the Niners are getting healthy. They've won 4 of 5. Let's beware of the Niners, who might be a tough out in the first round in the NFC. They went into Cincinnati, blew a 14-point lead, won it in overtime, 26-23. Both teams now 7-6 on the season. Denver's also 7-6. They whooped up on the Lions. Detroit had like 11 guys out between COVID and the flu. I mean, I'll tell you what, if that game was last year, I think it would have been pushed back. I mean, the NFL this year said that won't happen. If a team's unable to play because of, bodies and what have you, it'll be a forfeit. But I think if this game, Mark, was last year, this game would have been pushed back to like Tuesday. Chargers whooped up on the Giants. Game not as close as the final score of 37-21. LA is 8-5. New Orleans, they're still in it for a playoff spot. They beat the Jets by 3 touchdowns. They're 6-7. So are the Falcons, who beat Carolina 29-21. Cam got benched again. Matt Rule's having a rough year. Urban Meyer's taking a lot of heat off Matt Rule. Wouldn't you agree? Matt's having a rough year.
Really rough year.
They've lost 8 of 10. Remember, they started 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was looking like Sam Darnold and the whole signing. Everybody's praising them about what an offseason it was.
Right. Yep.
And then, McCaffrey gets hurt a little bit. Things start going south.
Blaming the quarterbacks, offensive coordinator. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Donald gets hurt.
Everybody but Matt Rule.
Right.
Right. And he's in charge of that organization, so I don't know who else you look to blame. And Seattle, I think, is the NFC version of the Dolphins. They got to 3-8, and all of a sudden they decided to start playing like the Seattle Seahawks again. They've won 2 in a row. They whooped up on Houston. Very quickly, New England, Tennessee, KC, Baltimore are your top 4 seeds in the AFC. New England, Tennessee, KC, and Baltimore. Chargers are the 5 at 8-5. Indy and Buffalo would be the 6 and 7s. They're both 7 and 6. Cleveland, Cincinnati, Denver, also 7 and 6, but because of tiebreakers, they are on the outside looking in right now. NFC, Arizona, remember they host the Rams tonight, Monday Night Football, on a good one, 8-4 against 10-2. Cardinals a 2.5-point home favorite. Arizona's the one. If they lose, Green Bay becomes the one. They're a half game back, and remember, Packers beat them head-to-head. Tampa's the 3, Dallas is the 4. Rams, I mean, if they win tonight, I guess they make the West interesting, but they're locked in at the 5 right now. San Fran's a game back is the 6, and Washington, with 5 teams tied at 6 and 7 for the final playoff spot in the NFC, right now that spot would go to Washington, with Minnesota, Philly, Atlanta, and New Orleans in that order on the outside looking in. Draft order, by the way, if you're curious, it's a 3-way battle between Detroit, Jacksonville, and Houston. 1 win and a tie for Detroit. Jacksonville and Houston, each with 2 wins. I think Jacksonville and Houston play one another down the stretch.
They should have one more left with one another.
The Jets have the 4th and 8th picks of the draft right now because they have Seattle's pick, which is 8. The Giants have the 5th and 6th picks. The 6th pick is Chicago right now.
Those damn Colts are killing you Eagle fans.
And they are.
Picks 10, 11, and now 21.
Right.
And
Remember?
Doll fan, you can say the same thing. You're picking 22nd with San Francisco.
Exactly. Colts and Niners winning games. That is coming back to bite Philly and Miami right there. As Mark mentioned, Philly with the 10th and 11th picks in the draft, if the draft were this week. Number 2, college football. This, to me, an absolute shocker. Bo Nix. His family went to Auburn. He's got ties there. He's the face of the team. Announced last night he's going to graduate and transfer. Wow. Former Ohio State quarterback. That's kind of laughable because he was there 4 months. He cashed some checks.
Former Ohio State student.
Well played, Mark. Well played. Recruit/student. Quinn Evers, that 5-star quarterback. Yeah, he decided to go to Texas. I can tell you one thing. You know what that means? Arch Manning's not going to Texas.
Yep.
So they're out. On Saturday, Bryce Young won the Heisman. Do you know before Nick Saban, no Alabama player had won the Heisman?
I do.
And since then, they've won 4. Ingram, Henry, and then Devontae Smith, and now Bryce Young, back to back. And the stat of the weekend continued. Navy in beating Army 17-13 with an over-under of 34.5. It means for the 16th straight year, the under has won in the Army-Navy game. College hoops, Baylor's going to be the new number 1 team in the country because they're ranked 2nd. Remember, Purdue had already lost. And Baylor whooped up on Villanova yesterday by 21. Gators lost to Maryland by 2. Florida State lost to South Carolina by 1. They blew a 16-point lead. Iowa State and USC remain undefeated. Oh, by the way, they're both 10-0, very quietly. Miami beat Fordham by 6, and FAMU lost to Akron by 7. On the women's side, 17th ranked USF, a winner over VCU. New polls come out today and tomorrow in women's hoops. Mark, I'll put NBA and NHL together as 4-5. Not a lot of activity for both. Although 36-year-old LeBron James did, after playing back-to-back road games Thursday, Friday, heavy minutes, went to see his kid play Saturday, came home, he said he slept. Got like 9-10 hours sleep. He then went out and scored 30 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists against the Orlando Magic.
Was the Orlando Magic, after all.
I understand.
Don't know if there's a worse team right now. I mean, the
I
Pistons,
get you.
but Orlando's right there.
They are.
Orlando's fighting.
I mean, they're certainly up for relegation, Mark. They are. If this was European
They're
soccer.
5-23.
Yes, they are.
Okay,
and
5-23.
I understand. He is 36.
It's Orlando.
Okay. KD scored 51.
Well, there you have it.
Both LeBron and Kevin Durant yesterday said, listen, we're the 2 best players in this league, okay? You can talk about who you want to add Steph in, that's fine. But the old guys can still get it done.
He did it against the Pistons, too, so that's 2 bad teams.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, it's 51.
Exactly. And it's a 30-point triple-double with 3 blocks.
NHL
They're
Panthers.
great players. It was against the 2 worst teams in the league. Combined, they don't even have 10 wins.
NHL Panthers lose to Colorado 3-2. It's only the 5th time the Panthers have lost in regulation in their first 27 games. In fact, 3 of the top 4 teams in the East, Florida, Carolina, and the Rangers, all lost last night. And finally, number 5, Formula One.
There we go.
And we're guessing most of you are not F1 fans, and that's fine. Here's the deal. 2 racers are tied going into the final race. This never happens because it's a points thing.
You know, Dan Patrick used to give one of the guys, the Danettes, 5 good soccer seconds. I feel like that's what this should have had.
This is it. This
But
is
go
it
on.
for the whole year. So it's Max Verstappen of the Netherlands and Lewis Hamilton, who's won 7 championships, 4 in a row. Verstappen's on the pole. Hamilton passes him controversially on the first lap. He basically cheated. He cut off the corner of the course, and they said, no, he didn't gain an advantage there. So Hamilton leads the whole rest of the race. 6 laps to go, there's a crash. Verstappen's in second, but he's 6 cars behind Hamilton. There's 4-lap cars in between the two. So, first off, most people thought the race was over. Race officials decide, no, we're going to stage one final lap. Well, okay, great. But Verstappen can't catch Hamilton. It's a road course, and he's got 4-lap cars in between him now and Hamilton. At first, they say, nope, lap cars have to stay and hold their position. Then they decide, lap cars got to get out of the way.
Right. And get out of the way. Not,
No,
I mean, like
get
basically
out.
get off the track.
Right, so that Verstappen now is on Hamilton's bumper. Okay, Verstappen's on new tires. Hamilton's on tires that are as old as they can be. So Hamilton's a sitting duck. Final lap, Verstappen passes him, wins the F1 championship. Mercedes goes ballistic. They're Lewis Hamilton's team owners. Their protest, they started the protest, then they pulled it back. Hamilton was classy, gracious when all was said and done. But so that's what, if you're wondering why people are kind of freaking out about the whole F1 thing, that's what happened. And you got to admit, even if it's something you don't care about, that's pretty compelling.
You and I both desperately want to see one of these races live.
Right.
You've been given the green light by our audience, but not by your wife yet.
Correct.
Considering that it's Mother's Day, the second one's a little more important than the first one.
Agreed. I mean, I love you guys and gals. I do, but I do go home to the other one.
At least 3-4 times a week.
Right.
During football season.
Right. 5 months out of the year. If this was during football season, I would just go to the race because I'm gone anyway.
She wouldn't know.
But since this is Mother's Day weekend and this is the time we're supposed to be spending together, I'm in a bind.
But that
was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Thanks so much for listening. Miller and Moulton. Where else but the Florida Sports Network?
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Visit gpstpete.com now to secure the best seats.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Now it looks like the school official stat broadcast had to miss the first free throw in the stat that stat thing. Somebody hit the wrong button. You know the stat cast, the same thing you see with the first,
Right. But they could correct it.
but they didn't.
First off, it's amazing between assistant coaches, head coaches, and officials, and somebody at the scorer's table. I mean, you literally need one person to catch it.
I know. It just Lane Kiffin.
Yes, the Brian Kelly thing.
We just got the dude shaking his head. I may have to take my Brian Kelly's going to win a natty off the table with what's going on.
Oh, stop it.
I did not expect that. He might not even coach a game at the time this is done.
He's not Mike Price. Is he going to a Mobile strip joint? Do we know?
There's a chance.
It's not that far away, granted. It's about 3 hours.
Where will Urban Meyer be working? One year from now. Jags head coach. Fox college pregame show. Barback.
Reader in his Columbus, Ohio
Post
bar.
At his
Ohio bar.
Columbus bar. That's all I got room for.
I like it.
Now, if we wanted to double up and go Christmas polls,
I'm all for it.
I'm just trying to think what a
Real
cookie,
or fake?
real or fake.
Tree, real or fake?
Yeah.
15 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. A lot going on the show today. Anthony Becht will join us in a couple hours to talk Bucs and a few other things NFL. We'll head to Jacksonville in a little more than a half an hour to talk the Jaguars, who, well, they make our poll question.
They are our poll question. Couple of things I'd like you to look at today. One is LSU's latest video and Lane Kiffin's response. But two is the post-game handshake between Mike Vrabel and Urban Meyer.
Vrabel worked for Urban at Ohio State,
Yeah.
I think for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Vrabel ran across, obviously happy. His team had a shutout, ran up to the coach. Urban looked as if he was at his wife's funeral. I'm not joking. I've never seen a more sad look, if you know what I mean, by a head coach on the field. I've not seen a coach look that bad since Sparty beat Ohio State and Urban was eating his Papa John's in the corner.
That was 8 years ago. That was a Big Ten title game. His first loss at Ohio State in 2 years. He took it that hard. I will say this, it's getting to the point if you're Urban, don't you have to change the outfit? All right. He's got he's wearing the same little windbreaker jacket there and pretty much the same outfit.
I think it's a very Jacksonville-esque outfit.
I understand, but
works in all kinds of weather.
I mean, it kind of like if you're a tour golfer and you're having trouble on Sundays. And my thing is, I wear this shirt. Don't you have to change the shirt?
You do. You do. But he is the crux of our poll question. We have not one, but two poll questions up already because I'm feeling the Christmas season.
Boy, are you ever.
And the first one is very simple. Where will Urban Meyer be working 1 year from now? There are three choices.
Wait, you say that's simple, huh? You don't think that's a loaded question?
I think the choices are very fair.
All right, what are they?
Jags head coach.
Okay.
And I put that first, by the way. I didn't even sneak that in at the end.
Right.
Fox College pregame show.
Right. So either his current job or his last job before it.
Right. And I really think that's a stretch because they've got Stoops and, I think this pregame show on either Stadium, the Big Ten Network, or maybe even the ACC Network where he could replace Mark Richt would be a better spot. But finally, the third choice is host at his Columbus bar.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Greeter. Yep. I could see that.
Right now, that's winning.
I actually voted Jags head coach because I think Khan's going to keep him for a second year. Now, you are asking a year from today. It is possible that he gets bounced, mid-second year. So
I would vote for the host at the Columbus bar. I really would.
Quick question. Is Urban employable on TV right now?
I don't think so. And he was really good on the Fox pregame show.
Absolutely. He was. And he, a lot better than Stoops. I mean,
a lot. And Stoops, I thought, got better as the year went on. But Urban was a lot better. Even the dynamic with he and Woodson, you had the Michigan guy and you had the Ohio State guy, and they had some good football conversations.
And they also yucked it up.
Right.
Yep.
I was stunned by how good Urban was on that because that didn't seem to be the personality that I had come to know from the liar, phony, fraud liar.
Right. I thought he would hold back on television because he was looking out for his next job, and usually they're not willing to criticize and others because they're trying to be nice.
And it's obvious he doesn't like anybody. He doesn't care one bit who he offends. And that's I should like that quality about him a lot more.
If you missed it, we got to go back to Saturday morning, right? Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, in which he goes, by the way, the Jags organization is imploding. Urban had a team meeting this week in which he called his assistants losers and made them all stand up one by one and basically justify why it is they should keep their jobs. Wide receiver Marvin Jones had to be begged to come back to the team after walking out of a practice because of what Urban had said about the wide receiver group as a whole and how he had talked to people individually, and that basically it's an absolute mess. Urban, early yesterday, I thought made a smart move. He talked to Jay Glazer. I think it's important, actually. I thought that was a smart move as opposed to going to just another NFL reporter. I don't know if anybody else thinks that makes a difference. I thought it did.
All right. First off, let me ask you, important to whom?
About Urban's image. I mean,
I got you.
Urban's image.
To who? To Urban? To his team? To the players that play for him? To the media? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm not at all taking you on here, David.
Right.
I'm just trying to get a clearer answer of what you're saying. And I know why, because Jay Glazer's considered incredibly credible.
Yes.
And is tight with so many people. So I get your point, but I'm asking, by going to Jay Glazer, do you think that helped him more with other media to not attack him, or the locker room, or both?
Well, I don't think it helped him with other media because it's open season right now and they see a guy on his way out. So they're just piling on. All right.
So you think Jay Glazer has credibility in the locker room?
No. With Khan. Okay. That I think, right now Urban has a focus group of one. To keep his job, he needs to appeal to one person.
Right.
All right. Jay Glazer, I think, is the most credible NFL information guy because he doesn't report everything. And when he speaks about something, everyone in the sport takes what it is he is saying as 100% gospel because they also trust that he has a good BS barometer and he can cut through it.
And here's my thing is that with Urban, I always think the BS barometer is pretty high. We got this comment, David, and I don't know if you saw it, but I want to bring it up because he's taken the side that if the RCB in our Twitch chat room says if the assistant coaches have a problem with what Urban said in the meeting, why didn't any of them have the kahunas to say something then? Cowardly move, in my opinion. I simply said, I don't know about you, David, but going to the boss when you're being told what pond scum you are and tell him you don't like the way you've been treated, I don't think that works in an NFL locker room. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think calling out your boss after getting yelled at is a smart way to act when you're an assistant coach.
Hold on. Calling him out to his face?
Yeah. They said go right up to him. His idea was you got to go right up to Urban and say, I'm upset with you when you're getting yelled at and called a loser.
Well, I mean, Mark, you're talking to the wrong guy. I mean, you just are. I mean,
right. Here, let me ask it to you in a way you can completely understand, David. I know how you'd handle it because you'd go right up to his face. Do you at least agree that maybe going up to a guy like that and challenging him could get you fired?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'd have no problem with that.
None whatsoever.
So that's and I believe most coaches want to keep their jobs.
I agree with that. Got to remember, if you get fired, you get paid. Okay, there's that. Secondly, if this situation is really this bad, you know what? This might be good. I get a 5-week paid vacation and I'll get employed somewhere else.
And unless you work in an industry where the media is part of your industry, sometimes it's calculated to get that out there. Sometimes you're trying to make sure the story gets out because you had no other way to do it.
Right. Don't blame this on us, basically. All of us are going to be running for the hills at the end of this year, and we want to get the word out that this ain't a us problem. This is a head coach problem.
By the way, do you think Urban called some of his coaches losers?
Well, he admitted to Glazer that, hey, I'm hard to work for.
And I'm hard on my coaches.
And I'm
but he said
hard
I didn't
on my
call
coaches.
them losers.
Right.
Losers. I don't believe him. I guess there's not anything Urban says that I believe.
Now, okay, is this calling a coach losers? If he says, we're 2-11, we're losers. You guys are all losers right now. I'm a loser. We're losers right now.
Well, here's the one thing I'd like to know. If that was what happened, did he say I'm a loser? And I'm not joking, because everything you say there, you guys are a bunch of losers. If he doesn't call himself one, then I'd be a little pissed. If he called himself one, I'd go, well, don't know. He called himself a loser. He called us losers. And quite frankly, we are.
I will agree with Urban on this. Urban said basically, if this information came from one of my coaches, they'll be fired on the spot. If I find out, they'll be fired immediately. And I totally agree with. Absolutely. You can't have one of your assistants go into the media.
Right. But it very well could have been a trainer.
Well, whoever. I mean, he's basically saying,
I know.
if this came from not players, okay, he's basically saying if this came from people who walk around with a Jags golf shirt,
right,
that in theory I employed.
Essentially my camp. Guys I hired. They're done immediately. And that's what I would pay attention to this week. Over the course of the next couple of days, does somebody get gassed? No, it's one of the little things, David, you and I have talked about this. When the new GM comes into town in any sport, you see the transactions. Back when you and I used to go to the Agate page, David, in the newspaper.
Right.
We'd go through the transactions, because I'm guessing you did that maybe first every day.
It was my favorite part of the paper.
You're damn right it was. With good reason, too, David.
I would soak it up like a sponge.
And every once in a while, you'd see a new GM was hired, and you'd see a couple assistant coaches get fired. And I never forget, my first boss in sports is, when you read those assistant coaches that get fired, what you don't read sometimes is that the marketing director, the ticket guy, this guy, they all got fired too, because the GM brings his own guys in. And at the end of the day, if guys that Urban brought in threw Urban under the bus, you'll find out really quickly, because they'll be in the transaction page in the next 2 days.
When we come back, I am going to sincerely ask a question that you are not going to believe that I'm asking. And I sincerely mean the question that I'm about to ask you. This is not shtick. We've got enough meat on the bone. I don't need to bring up a topic just to fill a segment. There's a lot to talk about, but I have a genuine question, which I don't think anyone else is raising.
I'm interested and nervous all at the same time. Miller and Moulton, and a question on the other side. Thanks so much for listening. You can watch the show by going to twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton, or you can listen to it right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Being announced but didn't consult them. Interesting global case study that includes WTA partner Porsche, which since entering China around 2000 has developed into its #1 market worldwide. I mean, it's really easy to say you're doing these things, but you're telling your sponsor that you can, if China just wants to go after Porsche now, they can.
They could.
They won't, but you know what I'm saying. It's
Porsche's like, hey, we don't have a problem with you.
I got you. I'm sure you saw by now the Chapman what's his name? Jim Finch is the guy's name. They apparently drove. This man drove a half an hour with a grill and a truckload of food and parked right in the middle of Mayfield, Kentucky. Just started cooking food for people.
Good.
Yeah. Wow, that town is gone.
Yeah, that's I had a really bad feeling Thursday early afternoon. I'm in the hotel room in Minneapolis and I'm watching Friday's forecast because I'm trying to see whether or not I'm going to get stuck or not. And you figure, Mark, this huge winter storm that's going from the Western Rockies all across the middle of the country would be 24/7. The only thing the Weather Channel's talking about. They were actually spending more time talking about the conditions ripe for a major tornado. And they had 3 ovals. One was a 5, one was a 3, one was a 1. And they said, Friday, late afternoon into evening. And then they said, and they were giving out that unfortunately 3 times more people die when tornadoes hit at night than during the day. And they just said, we're not saying there's going to be a major tornado, but we are predicting in these areas that the conditions are as ripe as they could possibly be for a major tornado. And they said, we're letting you know now, just be prepared, make plans.
Yep.
It could hit at all hours. They were spending more time on that than they were the winter storm, which was about to grind, 1,000 flights and all that. Apparently they say it was the strongest tornado since that tornado that hit Moore, Oklahoma, like 8-9 years ago.
Oh, yeah. And RCB, I get what you're saying, but unless you work in that world, it's a different world, man. And we don't know if a coach said this. We don't know if a player said it. We don't know if a trainer said it. I mean, that's the thing. You're just supposing that a coach said it. You have no clue. And at this point, there are plenty of people inside that Jaguars office that are anti-Urban Meyer, and they are going to put information out.
And RCB, it could be the agent of a coach, quite frankly. The coaches get their ass chewed, and guy calls up his agent and says, man, you got to get me out of here. You got to get me a job for next year. This is a total blank show, blah, blah, blah. And he tells the agent what happened, and the agent gives it to Tom Pelissaro. Because that's where most of these reporters get their info,
All right, now things are getting a little back to normal, too. Red Wings are about to have a top 10 pick.
A few losses in a row.
Yeah,
we're getting back.
I think I'm surprised they were almost a playoff team. Oh, yeah, Pittsburgh's won 4 in a row because that's who they were basically fighting the last playoff spot with. How about that catch? How about that catch?
Look at that.
30 seconds. $15.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
19 minutes after the hour. Top of the morning to you, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. Text the show. If you've never done it before, send FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio to 21,000. That gets you through the security gate. Watch us. Listen to us. Do both. Chime in. Put us on the big screen. That's a little early for that, though. Just want to hide the kids. On the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. Ryan Green, 1010XL in Jacksonville to join us coming up in about 15 or so minutes. All right. just play along. And by play along, I mean just
shut up.
No,
Okay.
I fear your reaction, and I am probably worthy of the reaction, but I am genuinely going to ask this question. This is not the question, but did you catch Urban postgame?
Very little.
I thought it's the closest thing you're going to get to 6 seconds of truth from Urban Meyer. I mean, he looks just like a completely devastated, beaten man.
He definitely does have that look about him.
Right. So, and they're asking hard questions. I will say they are asking the hard questions that basically, is this organization the way it has been depicted in the last 24 hours? Did you, in fact, call your coaches losers?
The one clip that I saw the video from where he basically couldn't spit out an answer. He just kind of
made a couple of hard sounds.
If you remember in Act 1, when our producer John Cassio left and we had E.
Right.
We had a sounder on this show because E was a big soccer fan.
Yes, he was.
And so we asked him a serious question.
Right.
And I think we caught him a little off guard by putting him on air, and he went, And so we saved that to play for a good year.
Right.
That was the same answer Urban gave last night.
It was just a little sound.
A little bit more than E, but not much differently.
Right. Little sound that just came up.
The gurgle.
Right. Yeah, something like that. So, and Urban, though, said similar things to what he said to Jay Glazer, but he said he was asked a question about his offensive line and about then the overall talent on the team. And his answer about the offensive line was, he was asked point blank, should the line be performing better than he is? It is. And he said, yeah, the talent on this line is better than the way we're playing. Yes. Now, I'm sorry. I think a coach should be allowed to say that. I don't think that's deflecting blame off of him. That's just him saying, yeah, I think we're better in this.
Right, because then the follow-up question is very simple. Why? Players, you're not coaching them up. What you're not preparing them for the week. What? Because there's a great follow-up there that he's then he's got to actually answer.
Right. So then he was also asked a question just about, hey, when you took this job and what have you. And he said, listen, I mean, he didn't see it the way we all saw it. We all saw 1-15, even with Trevor Lawrence. You're going to spend 2 years just in a rebuild. I mean, you're 1-15 for a reason. Right. He saw it as, I thought we could win. He didn't say 5-6 games, but he implied, I thought we'd be able to win some games this year.
One of 3, basically.
Yeah,
it's kind of the way you took it. Like,
6-11.
We can throw 5-11 up there, or 6-11 now, 5-12, and it's like, all right.
That was his.
We're bottom third, but we're not at the bottom of the bottom
right.
third.
Well, I mean, right now they're second or third in the draft, and you got the impression from him in which he thinks, we're going to be drafting between 9 and 11. I know that. But, I think we'll be able to win some games this year so that we head into year 2 with the franchise quarterback. And now we're challenging to go 9-8 and turn this thing around. That was the answer that he gave. And my question, this is the question that I have.
Okay. Been waiting for it.
Despite all the soap opera, is Urban right? Is Urban right? Is the fact of the matter. And it's on him. He's the head coach. All right. But is he right in which, quite frankly, this group of players is woefully underachieving, and it's our fault as coaches that we suck?
Yes and yes. David, I don't think there should be a team in that league that has records like Houston and Jacksonville and Detroit. I don't. Just look at the stupid Lions. They should have 3 other wins this year. Baltimore game. They've thrown away a handful of games, but the difference is that the good teams, the Baltimores of the world, how many times this year, David, and I know you're usually paying attention to the Twitch chat room. But how many people go, well, Baltimore, they're not any good. They've won all these games at the end. I'm sorry. At what point are you going to change that statement from they're not any good, they've won all these close games at the end, that they actually must be pretty good because they figured out a way to win all these close games at the end? I mean, we never say that. What we always say, well, they're just lucky. Well, they've got the best kicker in the game, maybe one of the best kickers to ever play the game, and they win really close football games. Maybe their players and coaches have them prepared to do that. David, I don't think anybody in a league that is so full of parity, look where Detroit, Houston, and Jacksonville are. Houston at least has an excuse. Their franchise quarterback's not playing. He didn't want to. They didn't want him to. But at least there's a built-in excuse there right now of why things are as bad as they are in Houston. You don't have that same story with Detroit and Jacksonville. You just don't. You have games like this week for the Lions. They had 47 players hurt. Smartest bet you've ever made. With the Darius Thomas situation having passed away, and you knew the Broncos were going to play hard. Then you find out 6 Lions have COVID and 12 more of the flu. Okay, well, they're going to get whacked.
Right, and they did. But I bring this up because of all the franchises to make this case, is Urban Meyer not the 2021 version of Tom Coughlin in 1994? Tom Coughlin came from Boston College, took over the Jags, and was a blankety blank. Let's not sugarcoat it at all. The narrative of Tom Coughlin now is very different than the narrative of Tom Coughlin in the first half of his NFL career.
Well, Tom actually changed.
Right. It took a long time.
No, it did.
He was a head coach in the league for 10, 12 years before he changed.
Right.
But Tom Coughlin was a blankety blank. He got 15 minutes early, fined if the socks and in practice and the whole deal. Right. And people are like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. They went 4-12 their first year. 4-12. Right. Jacksonville hosts Houston this week. Hope they win. But I mean,
well, that's got Ty written all over it.
But you could see where maybe they win. I'm going to give them a win against Houston. I'm feeling generous. All right?
Knock yourself out, David.
Because they're at home. Huge home field advantage in this rivalry, Mark.
Nothing says home field advantage quite
right.
like Jags.
Got that right. So, say they end up with 3 or 4 wins this year. I mean, you and I are old enough to remember what they were saying about Tom Coughlin and the Jags the inaugural season in 1994. This was the biggest jerk in the league. Nobody wanted to play for this guy. This franchise is a joke. This isn't college. Next year, they sneak into the playoffs. They make a run. They go to the AFC title game. Carolina did the same thing over on the NFC side, blah, blah, blah. 94, 95 was their first year. I think it was 95.
All right. The next 2 weeks, the Jags have winnable football games.
Okay.
Houston and the Jets. I'm going to ask you a question, David. Because you just gave me that question, and then you started talking about the Jags rolling on a 2-game winning streak here.
Well, I didn't say that.
Well, that's essentially what you said, 3 or 4. So I'm going to give you 4.
Okay.
First off, that's laughable to think that they're going to win 2 games in a row. But let's just play the other way, David.
Okay.
What if they win 3 or 4? What if they don't? What if they lose the rest of their games? It's 9 straight, and they're 2-15.
Right.
Answer that question for me when you and I both believe that it's pretty hard not just to win 4 or 5 games in this league because, if you know what I mean.
Well, but I'm asking you to render a verdict now. Okay? It's easy to render a verdict once the games are played.
No, okay, but if he gets to 4, look, I think he's going to be back because I think Mr. Khan wants him back. I think if Mr. Khan already wanted him out, he would have been gone. There's been enough there to fire this guy. There really has, even in year 1. Between the bar in Columbus, the situations with coaches, Trevor Lawrence coming out and saying, play my damn running back. There has been enough there if you really wanted to make a change to make one. That's number 1. So I regardless of whether they go 2-15 or whether they go 4-13, I think he's there to start the 2022 season. Whether or not, I think this poll question is incredibly relevant because we did say a year from now.
The poll question, by the way, is what will Urban Meyer be doing a year from now? 3 choices are coaching the Jags, college football on Fox, greeter at his bar in Columbus, Ohio.
Bingo. That right now is with the majority vote at nearly 53%. Our Christmas poll, day 1 of the Christmas season on Miller and Moulton is today.
It's a very short season. It's very anti-Hallmark.
Yes.
And Amazon, right? Our season's just a week and a half.
The Christmas proposal. That was on CBS last night. They told us 5,000 times.
Oh, wow. Great.
During that Buffalo-Tampa game.
Right.
The Christmas proposal coming up after 60 minutes.
Pass interference or not tonight at 9.
And then our Christmas poll, is your Christmas tree real or fake?
Yep.
Right now, 70% of you go the easy route.
Fake.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm with you. Mine's fake. I would much rather have it real.
Yep.
It did take 3 people to get the last real tree into the house. That's when that ended.
So, but I'm just asking, is it possible that while Urban is making a bunch of mistakes, but that actually there is some truth to the madness? Because by the end of year 2, the Jags made a little late push. They snuck into the playoffs. They had some success. And now Tom Coughlin was a hard ass, but a winner. He taught these guys how to win. He whooped them into shape.
And David, you may be right about everything you're saying. The difference is it's a new NFL, and that style, while was bad then, is toxic now.
Ryan Green, 1010 XL in Jacksonville to join us coming up. Anthony Becht, a little bit later on in the show, we'll talk about the Bucs, winners of 4 in a row. And with a nice little schedule laid out in front of them now, they could run this thing. Is this deja vu all over again? Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us on the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Who's had the toughest schedule in the NFL this year?
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, wait, no, I think I know. I think Washington. They've had a tough schedule.
Pittsburgh and Carolina the rest of the way.
What do you mean?
I'm just telling you, they're saying ranked as of this week with their opponents' winning percentage the rest of the way. Pittsburgh, Carolina, Baltimore, Detroit have the toughest the rest of the way, but I don't have it for the whole season. Based on this current schedule, Pittsburgh, then Baltimore, then Green Bay had the 3 hardest NFL schedules.
Remaining schedule.
No,
Oh, just schedule.
based on 17 game schedules.
Wow. All with winning records. Or not winning records. 500. You ever been to that stadium, David?
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
What, the Denver one?
It looks cool.
Yeah, it's okay. Mile High was better. I mean, Mile High's acoustics were amazing.
Why'd they knock it down?
The same reason they knock all stadiums down.
It's too old.
Need bigger concourses, need better concessions, more bathrooms, and more suites.
Right.
More suites.
Emphasis on the suites, huh?
You know how much money in suite revenue they share with the players?
How much?
Zero.
It's not 50-50 or 52-48 or whatever it is of all revenue. It's a negotiated split of negotiated revenue. Suite revenue, not part of the equation. Jera keeps all of that. Why Jera built suites on the ground.
I'm guessing club seats fall in the same thing as suites too, probably.
No.
I was fired up. I got an email about playoff tickets. I'm like, all right, I got to call, make sure I'm doing this right. She's like, no. You're all set. That's just if you want to buy extras.
Well,
To
you
get
know
in-
they're going to host one game.
Huh?
Well, you know they're going to host one game.
I know they could get two here too.
God, so great.
Who can Green Bay lose to?
Well, they play Baltimore this week on the road. They host Minnesota.
It's the Baltimore one, but that doesn't look too good with if
Well,
Lamar's
it doesn't.
out.
I mean, Green Bay's better than everybody they play the rest of the way.
But Green Bay could lose in the playoffs too. I mean, there's always that. They could lose the 4-5 game.
Well, what would be interesting is, although if Green Bay wins out, they're ahead of Tampa, so they'll be
Right,
worse in the 2.
Right.
But what to me is interesting is the matchups. Like if Green Bay gets Frisco, that's not a good matchup for them.
Right.
Green
So
Bay
it's-
would.
I mean,
kick the
Tampa
tar
could
out of the
easily
Rams.
could easily host the NFC Championship game. That's even as the 2. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Now the 3, it seems highly unlikely, but if you get to the 2,
Ryan's on hold. Are cruises fun? I've never been on one.
Depends.
I've been on one. It was fun because I was actually when I was working here,
Mhm.
and I won a trip from a sales standpoint, and it was basically our whole sales staff. It was a shit show. It was a ball.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope Christmas plans are coming together, that sort of deal. Thanks so much for listening. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Ryan Green, 1010XL in Jacksonville. Kind enough to join us. You can follow him on Twitter at Ryan Green 1010XL. He does middays on 1010 and 92.5 in Jacksonville, noon to 3. Ryan, David, and Mark, once again, thanks for your time. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Good to be back on with you.
Ryan, did the report Saturday morning surprise you, or did you and your brethren in Jacksonville know that it was that big of a grease fire before Saturday morning?
I think there were aspects of the report that surprised us, surprised me anyway. Some of it you kind of knew, the in-depth part, though. The meeting, calling out assistants. Urban, by the way, denied using the term losers. He denied that last night in the post-game press conference against Tennessee. But if he did indeed basically challenge his assistants' resumes, say he was a winner and they were losers, that's obviously an issue. We knew that he had been very critical of the wide receiver room. Marvin Jones is the leader of that wide receiver room, so that didn't necessarily surprise me. The report there were issues between the two of them, and the James Robinson benching in Los Angeles has been a fiasco. We knew Urban Meyer did that. James Robinson basically came out on television here locally and said that he thought he got benched, and for whatever reason, Urban did not want to admit to benching James Robinson, and threw Bernie Parmalee, his assistant or his running back coach, under the bus. That was the one that's gotten out of control. If Urban would have just admitted it, yeah, he fumbled, I benched him. Wouldn't have been a good look, but at least the story would have died there. The fact that Urban has drawn this out and continues to deny benching him, then that report comes out, that's the one that really has people here like, what are we doing down at that stadium?
Well, Urban and the Truth have been mysterious partners over his entire time as a coach. So it doesn't really come as a shock to anybody that's followed Urban. But when you look at just the Robinson situation, when Trevor Lawrence comes out and says he's got to play more, when it seemed that was a little bit of a line of demarcation, because obviously Urban can't say anything about his franchise quarterback. But when the franchise quarterback says he's got to play, that was my initial red flag that said there's a problem in the locker room in Jacksonville. What was your first one where you started seeing problems in the locker room?
Yeah, guys, the weird thing about James Robinson is he was a 1,300-yard all-purpose back last year, an undrafted free agent rookie, put up some of the best yardage ever by an undrafted rookie running back in NFL history. The coaching staff is blown out. Urban Meyer and his staff come in. They signed Carlos Hyde in free agency. Remember, they drafted Travis Etienne from Clemson. He got hurt in the preseason, but they drafted a running back in the first round. And we're all scratching our head like, what is the issue with James Robinson and the Urban Meyer-led coaching staff? It was bizarre. It was odd. We even went back through college and thought, was there an issue with James Robinson and Ohio State? Was there an issue anywhere in the past that would have led to this? So we couldn't find anything. So that was an indication that there were issues. Robinson was the best player on the team last year, that 1-15 team, and it was just odd the way he was treated. And then obviously this ridiculous thing that came out when he got benched in LA. Urban denies it. But I think if you want to start with the very first inkling that there were issues in the locker room, I think you probably got to go all the way back, honestly, to before the season even started. The hiring of Chris Doyle. That was weird. The strength coach from Iowa who had racial issues in his past, which cost him his job at Iowa. Why on earth would any first-year head coach want to bring an issue like that in? And, yeah, I know I've talked to you guys about this, but in hindsight, bringing in a guy like Tim Tebow at 34 to try to play tight end. Why, when you're a first-year head coach, would you want to do that and alienate some of the guys in the locker room? So even before the season, there were issues, and obviously they have mounted in season now that the Jaguars are 2-11, and I think probably the worst team right now in the NFL.
He's Ryan Green, noon to 3 weekdays on 1010XL and 92.5 in Jacksonville. You can follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Green 1010XL. Ryan, do you think there is some substance to some of what Urban said yesterday, which is, our line, I think, is better than how it's performing? I did not think we were a 2-11 team. I think there's talent here to win games. And he kind of gave the impression that he thought, I thought we could win 6 games this year, was the impression that I got from him post-game yesterday. Is there some method to that madness? Because, Ryan, I brought up the fact, we want to go back a generation or so ago. I mean, how different is this from Tom Coughlin's first year?
Yeah, you're right about that. But the one issue, Tom Coughlin's first year, that was an expansion football team. I mean, they were getting leftovers from all the other franchises. Now, they drafted well. Tom Coughlin's team drafted well. Obviously, Tony Baselli James Stewart. The following year, Kevin Hardy and Tony Brackens and Aaron Beasley. So I do think there's some differences there. The thing about the Jaguars in 2021, these players, to me, should love Urban Meyer because he has taken the focus on how atrocious they are. The offensive line here is terrible. There was literally a play yesterday, guys, where Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans ran over Ben Barch, the Jaguars starting right guard. Just ran him over like he wasn't there, tripped on the carcass of Ben Barch, who was laying there on the field, and the Jaguars got called for a holding penalty. Ben Barch didn't hold him. He was on the ground staring at the sky because Jeffrey Simmons just ran him over. Simmons tripped on Barch's arm that was on the ground and got called for a holding penalty. Andrew Norwell, the starting left guard, not one, not two, but three holding penalties yesterday, and he got beat for two different sacks. Jawan Taylor, the former Gator, high hopes for him here in 2021. He has been awful this year. So the one thing the players have going for them, some of them may not like Urban, but man alive, Urban is taking the brunt of the criticism when there is a lot of really terrible performances going on out in that field from guys that are getting paid an awful lot of money.
Okay, but this goes back to the coaches are losers, and maybe Urban's right. He did hire, if he hired a bunch of losers, at some point, you've got to coach players up. And that's where David and I have been all morning. When you look at Houston, you look at Jacksonville, you look at Detroit, hey, there's a reason. Most of them had a couple, 3-4 games that they could have won that they didn't. Houston's got to build an excuse with Watson not being there. Jacksonville picked first overall, but at some point, aren't you supposed to get better? And isn't that on the coaching staff?
Absolutely. Look, Urban is not without blame here. The team is terrible. I will say this, though, and I'm not trying to defend Urban Meyer. It was football malpractice what was done before he got here. Dave Caldwell, the general manager for the last 7+ years, from 2013 to 2020, did a atrocious job of bringing in talent here. Gus Bradley and Doug Marrone weren't exactly the best head coaches. That 2017 Jaguar team is such an outlier. That might be the biggest outlier in the history of the league. Other than that AFC Championship run, the Jaguars have been picking in the top 10 basically every year other than that for the last decade. And you look back on that 2017 team, remember Deshaun Watson was a young kid back then. The Jaguars didn't even play him on opening day in 2017. The Jaguars avoided Andrew Luck that year and got Jacoby Brissett twice. It just lined up perfectly for Jacksonville that they played some bad teams, were able to get a 10-6 record and make a little bit of a run in the postseason. Other than that, they've been awful. Back to your point, though, yes, Urban does need to coach these guys better. The staff has failed. The players have failed. It's pretty much a failure on all accounts. There is no one, particularly on offense, that goes without blame. And quite frankly, guys, that includes Trevor Lawrence, who I know he doesn't have a lot of talent out there, but good grief. He threw 4 picks yesterday. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in over a month. That is becoming an issue here when you see what Mac Jones was doing in New England, and you see what Davis Mills did in Houston yesterday, starting 14 of 14 for 160 yards and a touchdown. If Davis Mills is doing that with that roster, why isn't Trevor doing anything here in Jacksonville with this roster?
And Brian, final question. It brings us to the future. It was our understanding that this was the greatest offseason in the history of the franchise, that it actually sold more tickets this offseason than it did even coming off the AFC Championship game appearance of 4 years ago. And to see what the upper deck looks like nowadays at the last couple home games, it's clear that people are somewhere between bored and annoyed with this product. Can Khan sell year 2 of Urban?
It's going to be tough, honestly. Here's the thing about the upper deck, though, guys. I know I've had this conversation with you. The Jacksonville Jaguars record since the beginning of 2012 is 41 wins and 116 losses. They're 75 games below 500 in the last decade of football. That's less than 26% winning percentage. I mean, honestly, think about that. They've lost over 74% of their games in the last decade. I don't care what NFL market you want to go to. Go to Green Bay. Go to Pittsburgh. Go to Chicago. Go to New York. Go to Kansas City. And tell that fan base they're going to lose 74% of their games over the next 10 years. And let's see how full Arrowhead is. Let's see how full Heinz Field is. I mean, it has been an atrocious, ridiculous stretch of football here. I would think any team would have trouble selling tickets. There is a core, I'd say 40 to 45,000 in this town, and they deserve better, the fan base. They deserve better. They do need to sell more tickets, but good grief, man. Win more than 26% of your games over a 10-year period, and the people will come. It is going to be hard to sell Urban to the fan base in year 2. I think it's getting worse. They just need the season to end. 3 weeks ago, I thought Urban was back for sure. Now I'm pretty certain he's back, but I'm not as certain as I was 3 weeks ago. And if they lose on Sunday to Davis Mills and Houston here in Jacksonville, then I think there's going to be a lot of conversation. This is one of the more intriguing 2-11 versus 2-11 matchups you'll ever see.
Got that right.
Trevor needs to beat Davis Mills. If he doesn't, there's problems.
Ryan, appreciate your time and your insight, particularly at this hour, getting up a little early before your work day. Continued success. If we don't talk, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Fellas, same to you. Call me anytime.
Ryan Green, 1010XL 92.5 in Jacksonville, noon to 3 is his shift. You can follow him on Twitter, Ryan Green 1010XL.
Maybe the most extensive Jacksonville Jaguars breakdown that we've done since coming to the Florida Sports Network, David.
And probably will do.
Right. I mean, we try to encompass Georgia as well. So in this case, we'll probably have to talk some Sugar Bowl it's some Orange Bowl a little bit later.
You're a big fan of, as you always have referred to him as, the South Georgia Jags. Except for 2017 when he jumped on their bandwagon, you bought the dog a leash and a collar and all that.
We still have the collar, but I don't know where it is.
Well, your wife knows where it is. She hid it.
I hid her Penguins collar for the dog just to retaliate.
Especially when the Jags beat her Steelers in the playoffs.
Well, you know, when they did that, my daughter was like 3, and I did have my daughter yell Jags, 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 Jags to my wife. Wow. That's pretty much what did the collar in.
That's unbelievable that you would do that, because you know full well the ramifications of that action, and yet you did it anyway.
Slept alone for a while.
I'll bet you did.
I had hand.
And you lost it.
And had to use it.
Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. We'll talk plenty of the rest of the NFL and a few of the other very interesting things that went on this weekend.
I will tell all of you that are college football fans, this is something, you know, we had our symposium with Dr. Roto, who was our fantasy guest for a long time on this show. And I remember Dr. Roto at one of our fantasy symposiums just told everybody in the room, he said, are you on Twitter? And, you know, 10% of the room, he goes, well, if you're going to do fantasy, you kind of need to be on Twitter. If you're a college football fan, you need to be on Twitter because it is where you're going to get the most consistent updates on the transfer portal. And when Bo Nix jumped in the transfer portal,
whoa,
David, there isn't anybody that won't jump in the transfer portal. Holy Toledo.
Got that right. Stop me in my tracks.
You and I both.
Hey, if you're a UCF fan, got to think he's in play. Gus was the one that recruited him. Miller and Moulton, thanks for waking up with us and the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Visit gpstpete.com now to secure the best seat.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Israeli Prime Minister met with the Sheikh Mohammed today in Abu Dhabi. That's never happened before.
They get along.
I'm guessing it was tense, but they met.
Whenever you do that, all I'm thinking of is that meeting in Charlie Wilson's War.
When they're playing chess, or
no, when they're
when
they're
with the stripper and
the stripper and is you.
Do we have to talk about this now?
It is.
Gentlemen.
I will honestly say it's one of the only reasons I'm mad I still don't have HBO in my movie channels, because when movies like that are on, I'll just stop everything.
I can't not watch Charlie Wilson's War. I swear to God.
Like, you violating her, yes, in room whatever of the
right. Oh man.
Are we having Seth Everett on the show this week?
Wednesday.
Okay, good. Big week for Seth. New Spider-Man movie coming out.
Okay.
Big week for his podcast. Ugh. I heard that. Ugh.
We don't make any movies. We make comic book movies. I'm not a comic book person, nor am I a comic book movie fan.
I just feel like it's turned into its own subset of movies.
It is.
It's all they genre now.
It's all they make.
Superhero movies.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how much money they make?
Doesn't mean they're good movies.
No, but
and look at I like the diehards of the world, so I get the action movie. I just don't. I don't know. The superhero stuff's just a little much for me. If you're 12, it's cool. Like, I liked the Superman movie when I was a kid.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's dedicated to.
I mean, you're basically saying what a Urban Meyer assistant coach you are.
What are you? An O-line coach for the Jags.
Thought you'd like that.
Adam, you got to remember, you're ahead of the Lions. 2 wins beats a win and a tie.
You see the Aaron Rodgers doppelganger?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, look at that. That's tremendous. Where do you want to go here?
Huh.
Back to the Bucs, Bills,
Yeah. Good call.
Roundtable NFL.
Okay, good, because I've got sports track or whatever, spot, whatever they keep
Spot rack there?
spot. Yeah.
Or Sport Rack, isn't it? Or
Well,
is
it's
it Spot Rack?
at Spot Rack.
Spot Rack.
They've got Tom Brady's 2021 pass attempts first, completions first, passing yards first, touchdowns first, QBR first, wins first, sacks first, PFF rank first,
10
MVP
seconds.
odds first.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
For some of you, we are halfway home on this Monday. For those of you in Tampa, St. Pete, it's the final hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. Well, you're going to have to find us. Anthony Becht, 1 hour from now, talk a little Bucs. He also covers the Jets in the preseason. Oh, boy. Little NFL talk with Anthony Becht 1 hour from now. We've got a couple poll questions, Mark. You should know. You typed them up. One, sports related. Where will Urban Meyer be working 1 year from now?
And while someone responded to that with a tweet that said, I think he'll be completely unemployed, I don't think they're going to force him to sell his restaurant. So hosting at his restaurant is essentially being completely unemployed.
And right now that's winning
by a long shot.
Voting is heavy, by the way, in early precincts.
Yes, it is.
Host at his Columbus bar has 53% of the vote. Fox College pregame show, nearly 1/3 of the vote. And only 15% of you think he will be the head coach of the Jags 1 year from now. I am one of those 15%, only because I think Khan is going to give him a year or two because, well, between pride, ego, and all the money, he's just going to say, I can't bail on this right away.
I'm totally with you. Don't you think at the end of the day, I mean, when you go get the high-priced coach, you want to be right. And to let it go this early in admitting defeat less than a year into it seems, just, I can't say suicidal from an owner standpoint, like, career suicidal from an owner standpoint because he owns the team. But how do you get other people to come work for you when you blow out the guy that everybody said you should get and you blow him out after a year? I don't think you can.
And we're not going to spend a whole lot more time on this because we've already spent a decent amount of time on it. But Urban was asked post-game yesterday about, your relationship with the owner. And he said, well, we talk every day. I mean, there's nothing that's going on that's a surprise to him. He goes, I'm not keeping anything from him. I mean, we talk every day. So that's why, to me, Mark, a month from now, because, Black Monday's in 4 weeks. The season ends January 9th. 4 weeks from today is when everybody gets fired. It's another reason why they should move college football's national championship game. The NFL regular season ends 24 hours before it, and then the NFL dominates the news day with a bunch of people getting fired. And, oh, by the way, 8 o'clock tonight, we'll play for the college football national title. I mean, move the damn game already. Trust me, the fans will show up. Their team's playing for the national title. That stadium will be sold out. You can play it any damn day, anywhere you want. It'll be fine. The other poll question, much like, didn't we do a Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we got into Thanksgiving.
For, a week and a half leading up to Thanksgiving. Well, we're going to do the same thing for Christmas. Our first Christmas poll, real or fake. We're talking trees, by the way. Right now, fake, 73%.
Well, Collier County's reporting heavily.
Are they? Aaron Rodgers still owns the Bears, by the way. 7th time he's thrown 4 TDs with no interceptions against them. Now, he does get to play him twice a year, and just about every single time he's played him, he's been on the better team. But still, 4 TDs, no picks for the 7th time against the same team. No one's ever done that. There aren't a lot of records Tom Brady doesn't hold. That little stat he doesn't have.
You're absolutely right about everything you said, and it just makes it that more disgusting if you're a Bears fan. No, I mean, it really, when I'm listening to that, all I was thinking about, and usually I don't feel sorry for fan bases. That's not in my DNA, David. I just don't. It comes from living in Michigan and having be forced to watch the Lions my whole life. I can't feel bad for your team, if you know what I mean.
Got it.
I have too many friends who've had it much worse.
Although I will say, when Ryan Green pointed out the Jags
man.
record in the last 10 years of 41-116, your eyes got as big as manhole.
Wow.
Well, if you're going to put it like that.
Well, and I was thinking the one thing I thought just quickly when he said that was the Jets. And I know they've had a couple of good years, but it is because it's New York. When you drive around or you go on Twitter and you listen to people talk as if the Jets are this important franchise, if they were located anywhere else on earth but New York City, they'd be as popular as the Jags.
Can't disagree.
But so I don't have a soft spot for fan bases, but watching some of that in the Bears and you see these Aaron Rodgers numbers, how they have missed on one position so consistently and had pretty decent football teams throughout this whole thing. Like when the Jags talked 74 losses and all these things, the Bears have gone to a Super Bowl. They've been to the playoffs. They seem to somehow always get to 8-8 prior to the 17-game schedule. And they've missed at quarterback always.
For 35 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, their biggest rival has had 2 for most of that time.
And even their other little rival hasn't missed as much as they have. I mean, the Bears would take Kirk Cousins. They would.
They'd hold their nose, but
they'd take him.
They would. You're right.
Hey, over the time that Cousins has been in Minnesota, if he was just in Chicago, how much better would the Bears have been for the last 5 seasons? I mean, it was 3 years ago that they had a special defense.
Well, I will say, that team, and for that matter, I mean, if that guy makes that field goal, I mean, that was a team in which, who knows how far they would have gone.
So, but just because you don't have a Tom Brady, and not anybody, you don't. It's hard to get a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers.
Is that like a piece of furniture, luggage? I mean, what's a Tom Brady? Can I go out and buy a Tom Brady? Is that being offered? You can't afford it on Amazon?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that's only on the American Express Black Card
accessories.
Well, the catalog you get for, hey, you've spent this much on your
this is
Amex
available.
Platinum.
This isn't available every day. Look at here.
Can't get that with a Discover card.
These guys have a Tom Brady. Wow.
Right now, Tom Brady in the league is first in the following categories.
Oh boy.
Pass attempts.
All right.
Completions. Passing yards, passing touchdowns, QBR, wins, sack percentage, the Pro Football Focus rank, and then MVP odds. Brady is leading all of those categories currently.
He's not going to win MVP. Not unless they finish with the 1 seed, which is possible.
Okay, he wins out.
Right.
And they don't get the 1 because Green Bay ends up tied with them, and Green Bay has the conference record.
Right.
Who's getting the 1 or who's getting the MVP? I'm just asking you.
No, I know. I'm taking the field. I don't feel confident about it.
I can tell.
Because
I can tell. In fact, it sounds like you're taking the field and you want odds.
I'm going to say I took the field and wanted to reconsider, but oh boy. And I love the guy. I do. I'm sorry. I'm all in on him.
You and I both, and as I said earlier, my wife does not like him 1 iota. It's a Steeler fan and her coming out, and the fact that they say Tom Brady and they never call him either Tom or Brady drives her crazy during every broadcast. Said it to her yesterday. I just looked right at her. I said, he's the greatest quarterback to ever play the position, and we get to watch him in our lifetime. That's fantastic. And that's all you and I are about, David. That's all you and I have. It's the one commonality between Miller and Moulton. We argue about a lot. We disagree about a lot, but we want to see greatness. We're lucky enough to get to do this for a living. Give me the best players playing the best. And it's amazing, with that being said, how much time we spent talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars today.
Well, they are the biggest grease fire, though, in the league. I mean, come on, it's like the rubbernecking delays on the road. I
Right.
mean, this is the huge accident on the side of the road.
Yes.
I mean, I do have to slow down, if not come to a complete stop and observe this. I may even get out my cell phone and take video of this. This is so bad.
No, there is, the place where the Las Vegas Raiders are. They're 6-7. That's just whatever. In fact, the Dolphins are a perfect example. They've strung 5 in a row. They're 6-7. That's really nice. You're not as interesting as what's happened the last 48 hours in Jacksonville.
No. Very few teams are, to be honest with you. 2 things I just want to throw out there. One, are we to the point where it is difficult? And obviously, the league's going to thrive. There aren't going to be 7 people that probably stop watching. But, I mean, he's been around so long and he's been great so long. This is kind of like when Jordan, in which you were late in his career and somebody would say, can you imagine the NBA without Michael Jordan? And the person looks at you like, no.
Here's the only reason that I think we're going to be more than okay. And I'm not joking when I say this. Who played the second Thanksgiving game?
The Cowboys and the Raiders?
Right. The Raiders, who have 0 stars on that team.
Right.
I mean, 0 stars. And the Cowboys,
Well, they got some stars.
potential stars.
Well,
they got names,
they
and
got
they are the Cowboys.
They have one who's promoted as a star.
Whether or not he is
Right.
debatable.
And he's paid like a star.
Again, it's the highest rated regular season football game in
30 years.
30 years. David, it didn't involve Tom Brady. I mean, it didn't involve Aaron Rodgers. I mean, think about that.
I said the league's going to be fine, but just as a fan, there is more than a generation of fans in which this is basically the NFL they know, just like there was a generation of fans in which Michael Jordan was the NBA that they knew.
Absolutely. Couple of big differences between those two. And it's just really simple. Fantasy football. We are so much more aware of the league, the players in the league, who's good for whom, because of the huge amount of people that are playing fantasy on a regular basis that we never had with the NBA. To you and I, we've always wondered, fantasy baseball, even though it's the first, it's too much work for people. Fantasy football is easy. It's once a week. It's one draft day or, one waiver day. So I do think that that's part of it. And I think the fact that this little thing that's going on in New England right now without Tom Brady, I think on the whole is actually really good for the league.
I agree. Absolutely.
Because if you lose Tom Brady and you lose the foil that is the New England Patriots to every one of the 31 other fan bases out there who hate them with every bit of their being,
Right.
the fact that all of a sudden they're back,
Right.
and now as a Patriot hater,
Right.
you just got to the point where you're like, you're okay with Tom with the Bucs.
Right. He's still wearing the white hat, but you got the black hat on them.
Yeah.
And they're back.
Right. See, if they weren't back, then there's more to your argument, I think. But that's mine, at least, David. That's my case. I present it to the court.
And it's not really an argument. I just threw that out there, that it is just difficult to imagine, for me anyway, when you have watched him at the highest levels for this long. It's like, wait a minute, where is he? Wait, he's gone? He retired? What? 14 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and and reliable. And the best part is, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I may have set a record yesterday for the most unhealthy day of eating that's ever taken place. When you can do potato chips and dip, a chocolate milkshake, and Cheez-Its all in the same day.
Now that's a Sunday. That's Sunday, Mark.
I don't feel very good for it, I can tell you that.
Not bad.
Couple empanadas as well. I was going to bring you some this morning. I just didn't wake up. Time to warm them up. Oh, you'll get them this week. There was quite a few leftovers.
Ooh. God.
Only problem with the leftovers, I love her because I don't like them when they're really crispy. Like the other place, they fry them and they're just, so she bakes them, but if they're baked too long, they get really crispy. So when you reheat them, you kind of take that chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate microwaves.
You have an air fryer?
I do.
Air fryers are the way to go.
You might be right.
Air fryers are awesome.
You know what? I can stack that. I can probably do 4 in there. I
Yeah.
can bring us 2 each for tomorrow. That'll work. That's the fastest. Good call.
I was given one for free a couple months ago.
I gave my boy my old one. They're great.
Changed my life.
They've piece of pizza, air fryer.
Oh my God. Anything.
Yeah, but the pizza's the one that floored me because I know there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
say do it on the stove on a cast iron skillet. Great, but I don't really have to clean that air fryer. I can give that bottom a good once over with a paper towel and feel pretty good about myself.
I keep aluminum foil over it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tater tots. Boom.
Tater tots.
Oh yeah. Love tater tots.
Do you go to Ford's ever?
Yeah.
Ford's is big on the tots.
Yeah. I've had their tots before.
My daughter gets them every time we go there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, she's 7, but that's okay. I'm a big fan of tots, though.
I know you are.
Big fan.
You ever mix mayo ketchup?
I don't do that.
No.
Oh, I love that.
It's like Coke Sprite mix. No.
It's broke.
I don't I don't really I don't put those two in the same level. The Coke Sprite and the ketchup mayo.
I don't
Because
really...
the Coke Sprite to me is effing sacrilege. Like, what are you even doing that
It's
for?
kind of pointless, really.
Yeah, I know. Adam, I was doing it too. My tots.
You get a cup, you get ketchup, you get mayo. You
No.
get a
I
can,
mean, I
you
understand.
swirl it around.
I got you.
Pink sauce.
No, my unhealthiest day, SEC me, but thank you. Yes. I mean, it was terrible. And I loved every minute of it. For lunch, I had potato chips and dip. By the way, hell of a dip, better than Dean's. I had them both, went head to head. Mano a mano.
30 seconds. David, you got a quick food question. Tots, curly fries, or onion rings?
Onion rings.
Onion rings.
Onion rings are so good.
It's not even close, by the
No.
way. Although Hooters for the longest time sold a good curly fry. It's the only thing they had there that
They
I
got the
thought was
best
worth the
curly
damn.
fries.
Hooters?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, they've got good fries. They don't have much else that's good, but their fries are good.
10 seconds.
Your wings might be the most overrated thing ever.
Yep.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 after the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Monday Night Football tonight, a good one. 8-4 at 10-2. Rams at Cardinals. Remember, Rams were unbeaten, had just whooped the Bucs. Next week, Arizona went to SoFi and whooped them.
They've not really been the same team since.
Arizona pretty much wraps up the division with a win tonight. They'd be 3 up with, 4 to play, having swept the second-place team. Cowboys pretty much won the division yesterday. They're 3 up with 4 to play in the East.
Boy, and I tell you, the Browns almost gave the Ravens a playoff spot and ended a game in what would have been the most Browns fashion ever. Stop the two-pointer.
By the way, can I just quick sidebar?
No, go right ahead.
It happened Thursday night with the Steelers.
Yep.
They're down 9 late. And, actually, it was fourth quarter. It was early fourth. They scored the 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes. They're down 29-20. They go for 2. What part am I missing? If you kick the extra point, it's a 1-score game, right?
Right.
And I understand that we're missing more extra points than we had since the 70s. But still, I mean, don't you need to make it a 1-score game? The Ravens are down 9, 24-15, early fourth quarter. Kick the extra point.
David, I totally agree. And they spent a decent amount of time talking about this in the broadcast. It was the game that I happen to have the volume on for. And I want you, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, but Thursday at some point, I would love you to get with your analytic Fox guys, because I know you talk to them on the phone. You're always talking to them during the game, and they give you information. What they were making the case of during the game is that more and more teams in that same situation want to go for 2 to get it to 7, because they think if they then score again, the opportunity then to go for the win exists. And David, I'm sitting there watching the game, listening to them explain this analytic logic. And it can render me thinking that I'm a stupid human being, because I'm there going, well, no. You kick the extra point, you're down 8, then you have an opportunity to tie the game. If you miss the 2-point conversion, you have to score twice, and everybody knows what now has to happen. I don't get it. So I beg of you, find out if you can where these percentages lie, because when they made that case, David, I'm staring at the TV by myself going, what in the hell are you guys talking about?
Now, in fairness to analytics, it literally every single play changes the odds. It's based on time and score and the whole deal. So it literally can change play to play. Now, it may only change 1/10 of a percentage point. The rule of thumb that we use on Fox, at least the broadcast that I'm a part of, I talk directly to the analytics people. They give the information to me. It's my job to relay it to Troy. And we have there's the stop, go, toss up. That's basically how I've narrowed it down.
Right.
I said to them, this has to be very simple. We have to communicate this very quickly.
So that you can just say analytics, say go.
Correct.
And Troy doesn't need to worry about really anything else that's been said.
Right. And I literally hit the button and in his ear say, analytics say go. Now, I'll then say hit the analytics and go, by the way, what's the percentage? And there is a 1% either way. So 2%. If it's within, so 51-49 either way to us is a toss-up. It has to be above 2%. That's a go or a stop.
Right. Right,
punt,
right.
Kick, right. So now, off the top of my head, I cannot remember what analytics said in my ear at 29-20 when the Steelers decided to go for 2 right then and there.
So, yeah, that would be the one thing. And I'm so happy you brought it up because you and I get in the case sometimes we forget some of the things we wanted to talk about. And when I was listening to the analytics, knowing how you deal with the analytic people on Thursday, I'm curious if there's any background, any history there that we could get something on. Because that, and then of the fact, I mean, give the Browns credit. Their defense goes out and gets a great stop after the onside kick. And there are times I wish I would tweet something out. And I'm not on Twitter all that much. I'm really not compared to most people in our line of work. Because the wife and I are watching it, the daughter's on the couch. I go, man, Baltimore getting the onside kick and winning by 1 here would be the most Cleveland thing ever. And not just the way they recovered the onside kick. Dude decides to not look at the ball, goes to make a block, it goes off the side of his head.
Right.
I mean, it was the most Cleveland, Jacksonville, Detroit, whatever you want, whatever team you want to put ever.
And to end up potentially losing not just to the Ravens, not just after you had a 24-6 lead, but also not to Lamar Jackson.
Right.
You would have been beaten by his backup.
And you're done. They lose that game.
Correct.
I don't see a path for Cleveland to get to the postseason.
Outside of winning out. And
it doesn't look like many teams can do.
No, well, because there's a lot of above average. I mean, there really is. There's very little outstanding. Kansas City looks to have regained their outstanding form. Are we sold on the Patriots being outstanding?
I don't think so.
Very good, but not outstanding.
I mean,
even though they're the 1 seed.
They just won a game throwing the football 3 damn times.
I know. I know. Listen, 2 things, and yes, I'm biased. I work with him, and he's a friend and all that. I thought Gary Danielson did 2 really good lines Saturday. Okay, the first one was in the open when he looked right into the camera and he said, Brad, I guarantee you that both these quarterbacks will throw more than Mac Jones today.
That's a good line.
And the second one was there was a lot of strategy involved in the game going down the stretch. And he said, there's analytics and then there's Army Navy. And he's like, I don't care what the analytics say. You need to punt here or you need to kick the field goal here. So for what it's worth, by the way, another quick sidebar, Army Navy is pretty special. Jersey pulled it off. I wondered, would it be different? Would it look different? It's normally in Philadelphia. It worked. I don't know if it would work every year in New York / New Jersey, and granted, it's special to me. I'm from Jersey, but I asked others who are at the game every year. I'm like, is this working? Does this feel like the game should be here? And everyone to a man was like, oh yeah.
Old friend of the show that we don't have on anymore, Pat Donovan, because he works in the Tampa market, and we're on in the Tampa market, so that doesn't work anymore. But he was at the game. He and I were texting, and he said that he and ESPNU were the only ones broadcasting live from outside the stadium that morning, which is pretty cool. The things I watched, what he was doing on social media made it seem very special to me as someone who's never attended the game and just kind of observing for that. I was mad at myself because like I told you earlier, we had our family Christmas party Saturday. So at 3:00, I was in the midst of greeting and making drinks and didn't get the beginning of the game on. We threw it on about 3:45. And I will say the guys in the room, to a man, everybody just went, ooh, those unis look good. Yeah. Everybody was, because at first it was, what's that? No one, these are common guys that don't pay attention to Army Navy. Just,
sure.
All sports fans. One played college football, but they were all like, ooh, what are those unis? And then there was, 10 guys having uniform talk. And so it looked to us on TV, those unis looked really good.
Yeah. The decision that Mike Oresco made about a decade ago when he was in charge of college programming with CBS, and he got together with the Army Navy folks and said, why don't we move this game so that it's separate? Instead of it being on at noon of conference championship Saturday. Push it back an extra week. And they were like, oh, man, that means some teams we might go 3 weeks without playing. He goes, trust me. Television and the ratings have been much better as a standalone.
By the way, when something gets good ratings, people pay attention. And David, as we go to break, was reading John Oran's story about what he thinks could happen in the sports media world. And we won't get into a lot of it because some of it involves people that you work for. So we really can't. But he did make the point of, with this Thanksgiving game being rated as high as it was, and now Fox has the early game next year. Or they have the Dallas game, rather. So They have the late game.
Right.
Well, 2 years ago when they had the late game, they stuck the Fort Myers tip-off on.
Right.
Before.
Right.
And it did okay.
Yeah.
From a rating standpoint, on across another basketball game. Looks like, it's going to be going on next year during Thanksgiving, don't you? The World Cup. They're going to put a World Cup game on. The talk is at noon before the Cowboys game, across from the Lions.
Ooh. It'd be interesting.
Now, it won't do the football number,
No, it won't.
but it's going to honk off some people when it has half of it.
That's outstanding. I like it. 29 minutes before the hour. Hope you like Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The rest of them are just ESPN renews with Formula One, MLS signs with ESPN and Warner Media. And he talks a little Fox and NASCAR, Sinclair, Bally Sports, just a bunch of that stuff. Oh, he does say that Fubo will cut a local pro sports rights team. That's interesting. World Cup game early afternoon before the Dallas game in 2022. He's like, could you imagine how the TV numbers would look if Fox has the U.S. men's national team in that slot? And he says Al Michaels and Drew Brees for Amazon. So they're going to take Drew over Troy.
Well, I don't know if they're going to take them.
Is this going to be the first time we have a World Cup in November?
It's always been my gut feeling.
Boy, there's a number for everybody.
I don't think for him.
David?
Doesn't want to do 2 games a week.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know how good you can be doing that.
It's just tiring.
That's what I mean.
Mark, do you know how deep into the World Cup it'll be by Thanksgiving?
I have no idea.
Because if we start getting knockout stage,
I have to admit, I'm so thrilled emotionally right now to be done with Thursday Night Football. Thursday's our last one.
Right. It looks like it starts November 21, 22. So you'll be in the first stages.
okay.
You'll be in the group. Because the round of 16 doesn't start till December 3rd. So you'll still be in group. So this will be interesting. What would do a better number? Lions, whomever, or U.S. national team?
Lions.
By how much? Double it? Triple it?
Yes.
Somewhere between 2 and 3 times? Okay.
Both on Fox, though?
No.
No, the Lions will be on NBC
Oh,
No, CBS.
or CBS rather.
Because they alternate every year.
You think it'll triple Team USA?
Yeah.
I do.
But if we make it, it'd be huge.
Okay, once again, with all due respect,
Okay,
I do
yes.
this for literally
I
for a
know.
living.
I know.
Okay. And it's not through to the knockout round. It's not a quarterfinal. It's
Right.
not a round of
It's
16.
group stage. Yeah, group
It's
stage.
a group stage. Even if it was a Team USA group stage, I think it would do 7-8 million people. The Lions game this year did 28.
So you know who that Dave Zurin is?
Hmm?
Dave Zurin name. He's
Yeah.
okay, sports writer guy.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk was named Times Person of the Year.
Oh, cool.
David Zurin, a South African diamond mine trust fund baby who grew up to become a plickeratic Twitter troll. Sounds about right for 2021. Now, someone please put this year out of its misery.
But Felipe, okay, if let's just say they take those 7-8 million from the Lions, well, then that's 20 and that's 7. Oh, that's 3 times. Maybe it could do such a good amount where it's only double what the soccer is, 19-9 or something like that. But I think realistically, you're looking at 3-1, 21-7, probably in terms of millions. Because the problem is the Lions aren't going to be good either.
Right.
Right.
So, you're probably looking at a 3-win Lions team hosting another Thanksgiving game.
Oh, wow.
And CBS can only hope they give them the Packers.
Sharp. Bubba Wallace's car is sharp.
Is it?
It's orange. It's a Wheaties car with the Jordan 23. It's sharp. That's good looking, David.
Oh, he's got the Jordan logo on his car.
He's got the 23 is a very much has that font to it.
Like the Chicago font.
Yeah, I think that's what I would call it. It looks like it to me. It's sharp.
10 seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
As we approach 22 minutes before the hour, thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, Anthony Becht, who covers the Bucs, does preseason for the Jets, former tight end for both. Anthony Becht to join us coming up at the top of the hour. We're supposed to be expanding this network this week, right?
It's the rumor.
That's what we've been told. At least Lake City.
That's the rumor.
Port Charlotte / Sarasota always seems to be day to day, aren't we all?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is it out of line for me to bring up the officiating when talking about the Bucs-Bills game as if it determined the outcome of the game? I mean, I'm willing to go that far.
It was a poorly officiated game.
Got it. There are those. And it's not every game. I mean, not every game is poorly officiated.
No, it just to me it stinks when you get a highly anticipated game, two good football teams, and there was a call that clearly let the Bucs win the game. And there were several calls earlier in the game that just were bad calls.
By the way, I did not think the third down Bills have a chance to win there at the end of regulation. It's splitting hairs. I did not think it was pass interference. I definitely thought it was holding. I mean, he takes his both hands and grabs them, and the defender was the one that initiated it, number one. Number two, the second hand is above, over, and around his shoulder pad, in clear view of the official who is standing diagonally and watching it.
Yeah, they just got to a point where they decided they weren't going to call penalties.
Right.
I don't know. See, and that's where, to me, it's a poorly officiated game, because I hate the phrase, well, the officials don't want to determine the outcome of the game. Well, if you're not making a call that is a clear penalty, then isn't that exactly what you're doing? And I kind of split hairs with this one, David, because it's really hard to play defense in this league.
Mm-hmm.
It's damn near impossible in the fourth quarter. Well, like I've watched so many people on the Twitch chat room today. Well, what Cleveland did in the second half, what Dallas did in the second half, what the Bucs did in the second half. Well, let's see. You get a big lead. So the coach then, the offensive coordinator and the coach, all right, we got to run the ball. We can't keep going this fast. We got to try to kind of milk some clock. Well, all of a sudden you don't get a conversion and a 3-score game becomes a 2-score game. And then you're reluctant for a moment to try to speed your offense up. And then the defense is gassed. And it's really easy. I think, back to what you said before, the analytics of going for 2 first, I think is stupid. Because if you kick the extra point, and in theory, you score again, you've had that defense out the entire fourth quarter. So when you need to convert your 2-point conversion, that defense is as tired as they can possibly be. I've never understood the early 2 just for that reason, David.
I don't know how you pass up a play that guarantees for all intents and purposes. I mean, NFL kickers are making 94?
Right.
95, 96% of extra points. Now, it used to be 99.4. Granted, since they moved it back, it's, messed with a few guys. But they're making 93% of their extra points. If you have a 93% chance to make it a 1-score game, don't you as a coach have to take it? How is it that running a play that has somewhere between a 40 and a 60% chance of success and therefore making it a 1-score game, how does that grade out better than a 93% chance of making it a 1-score game?
And David, I'd love to get to those analytic people and say, can you tell me the percentage of 2-pointers? Does it increase the further you are in the game? Does it increase with number of plays that the defense has spent on the field? I think there are all kinds of factors that to me just doesn't make sense to take the opportunity to go for 2 early.
But the Bucs beat the Bills in overtime. The officiating, a big role late. There's no question about it. Let me ask you, if you are Goodell and company, do you need to address this in a serious way in the offseason? You and I are hockey fans. Many listening in the Tampa, St. Pete, and Fort Myers, Naples area are as well. Hockey, now granted, they did it because of a lockout/strike, but hockey addressed the number one issue in its game. They did. And they said, we're eliminating all the obstruction. And if we end up sending 43 guys to the penalty box every game and we have to do it all year, we're going to do it. We are getting rid of this. Our game is clogged up. There's too much grabbing. There's too much obstructing. There's too much grabbing. Don't you think we're at that point in the NFL that the NFL, and I hate the rules committee, so I don't want them doing it, but somebody needs to sit down and say, we have got to either A, clean this up, or B, come up with a standard that everybody knows what is pass interference and what isn't.
All right, David. 64, 46, 47, 57, 46, 20, 39, 50, 48, 58, 49, 60, 75. We don't have an offensive problem in the league. We score plenty of points. I mean, to sit there, I know what you're saying.
I didn't say we did have an offensive problem. I say we have a pass interference problem.
But I don't know what we're supposed to do to make it where it's at least remotely fair for the defense. And I almost think officials look at this at the end of the game and they let them start mugging guys. I don't like it, but it's to the point now where you literally could call a defensive penalty on every passing down.
Yeah.
Every one.
Same as offensive holding. But last year, they put the whistle away. They let them play. Holdings were down. Offense was up. The game flowed better. Everybody was happy. This year, we're back to a ton of holding calls again. It's gone right back to 2019. It's as if last year never happened.
Because it's the only way, for the record, it seems to me, to stop an offense anymore is to put them behind the chains.
Yeah.
You know, I could figure out a really easy way to do this. It's no longer 1st and 10. It's 1st and 15. I know that'll never happen. You want me to fix it, make it a little harder to get a first down.
Well, I'm not trying to lower the score. I mean, if the game has gotten to the point now where it's going to be 43-37, okay, it's going to be 43-37. People are watching. I mean, if I'm the NFL, I do not want to screw with my product much. But I really do think if I'm the NFL, I do think we have a pass interference problem. Just like it took us 3 years seemingly to figure out what a catch was. I think we need to start figuring out what is and what isn't pass interference.
It is the problem, David, is that I think it changes throughout the game with the same official. Not even agree. Not even the guy on the right side calls it one way, the guy on the left's calling it another.
Nope. I know what you're saying.
The back judge can call interference 4 different ways over the course of a football games. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not trying to make it an offensive thing, but right now, I don't know how many more ways you can impede the defense from trying to play football.
But, Mark, once again, you and I are hockey guys, and for the longest time, it was understood in hockey, if you got to the third period, felonies were allowed. They were just not going to call penalties. They were not going to, and never mind a playoff game. Honestly, the officials could have gone home. The players could have called the offsides and icing themselves. There was really no business having them. There was no way you were going to get a penalty. Hockey now decided, probably not enough, but hockey then decided, you know what, this isn't right because everybody knows it and they're taking liberties and we have to stop it. Basketball, Mark, went through this in the 90s.
They just went through it this year. I mean, they actually have made more changes to help defense because they quit calling the James Harden, I can jump into you when I go to the line every time.
Right. And obviously, that evolved over 3 to 5 years. And now the league caught up and said, you know what? No, we have to eliminate this. But, I mean, they had the decade there. They're the Pistons, Knicks, and Heat and what they did to the game in the 90s. And the NBA said, come on. We got to make this more free-flowing. We can't have these 83-79 playoff games here. We got too much talent in the damn league. And they started saying, hey, you cannot put your hands on a guy when he's dribbling the basketball. You can't. And on the post, you can't grab him. You can arm bar him, but you can't grab him. And it's freedom of movement. And I'm just wondering, does the NFL, even if it's going to take 3 years of experimenting during games, I do think we all need to know, players, coaches, fans, I think we all need to know when we see something, oh, yeah, that's interference.
I would like to hear from D-backs on this a little more because I think that there's a lot more communication between the receiver, the D-back, and the official during a game than we're made aware of. The one thing that I loved after I quit doing hockey play-by-play and so I just didn't want to travel anymore was being in the locker or, every once in a while I'd have to be the PA guy. Because our PA guy'd have to miss a game, I'd fill in, or we'd be short an off-ice official, and I'd run a penalty box or something like that. And but mostly doing the PA, listening to the officials talk to the players the whole game. That's the one thing fans don't get, how much communication there is.
Right.
The announcers don't know it. I mean, they know it, but they don't know what the communication is. And the fans certainly don't know it. JB in our Twitch chat room said, well, how about Starlin calling a little more offensive pass interference? And JB, I'm with you. Because I think the pushing off is every bit as bad as the defensive pass interference. But they have made it well known that they are not going to call offensive pass interference. OPI doesn't happen the same way that it takes something to just get a grounding penalty anymore for a quarterback. They do everything they can to protect that.
And that's what I mean. There needs to be a standard, like even in hockey. When one of the rule changes that they made, they said to a guy, if you over embellish something, we're going to call it. We can call 2 penalties on the same play. Somebody can hook you, and you could also make it look like a felony. We're going to put you both in the box. One for a penalty and one for just annoying the heck out of us, basically. I mean, I think the league has a problem. I really do. Too many people watched what was the marquee game of the day yesterday and felt like the officials screwed it up basically over the same penalty. 11 different instances of it. And you're
Yeah.
right. It started in the first quarter and it went right on into overtime. And they screwed it up both ways. Absolutely. It just happened to be at the end, they seemingly screwed it up all going in one direction, which then gets people thinking the worst things that you can think about a sporting event. I have no idea what pass interference is anymore. Do you?
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is when I see it. It just doesn't always get called, David.
Okay, well, but that to me is the same thing.
Well, they don't know. And again, I think the point I made earlier, David, is the one that I think needs to be addressed is how can the same official call the same foul so differently over the course of a football game?
It's always been that way, though. I mean, you go back to, one of the famous instances of it was the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl, and Belichick instructed his DBs we're going to get really physical with them, and they may call penalties, but they won't call them all day. At some point, they'll put the flags away. All right, just keep being physical with them. And there were a couple of early calls, and then up until the very end in the fourth quarter, ironically, Patriots had a pick six, which put that game away, and it was called back because of, I think, illegal contact or something, and the Rams actually scored their first touchdown after it. But, Belichick played the percentages, knows how the game's going to be called.
David, you know how this gets fixed? And I hate to say this, but it takes an NFC, AFC championship game or a Super Bowl in which we get what we got on Sunday. Because if there's...
I mean, that's the irony. We had it, and we had it 3 years ago. I mean, the Rams-Saints deal was egregious, and they completely blew the call.
Well, they blew the rule. They tried to fix it and screwed the whole thing up. They made it worse.
Right. I know, exactly. So then they say now we can review pass interference, but it was as if it got passed in the dark of night, and the league didn't really want it, and they did it to appease the outrage, and then a year later made sure everybody knew when 2019 began, the rule was going to disappear for 2020.
They'll never do it on replay. It won't happen. What I'm saying is I think they may come a little close, like with the catch. I got that it was in that game. But if they get a Super Bowl that was like that Super Bowl, the Rams, the 10-7 game or whatever that was, the Rams-Patriots game, when they get one of those, that's what I think. Because if they get yesterday and the game goes to overtime and it's in the 30s, they won't care.
Can't they just pass? Can't they just make it so that you can't touch the guy? After 5 yards, you can't touch the guy. I don't care. By the way, both ways. I'm just letting you both know. Okay, you get more than 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. The guy who has his hand on the other guy is getting called for a penalty. Can I make it any simpler than that? Isn't that the equivalent of basketball and hand checking?
You know what? You're right. You're right. Would be ugly for a year.
Yeah.
It would be really ugly for a year because they're taught at a very young age how to play defense and offense and the hand fighting.
Yes.
And I guess part of it where I'm a little different than you, I marvel when these guys catch it with the fights that they're going after. I mean, when you watch what Kittle's doing, the way he's getting grabbed and held, and you're going, how do you do that? And if they couldn't touch anymore, the games might get to 80.
Maybe. I think the league has a pass interference problem. You can't tell by the ratings and all that. I mean, the league has no problems right now. So if I asked you very simply, does the league have a pass interference problem, yes or no?
I'm going to middle this. I'm going to say kind of because I don't think it's as bad as you do. You think it's a really big problem. I don't think the problem's nearly as bad as you think it is. So can I say that they have a problem, but it's not at DEFCON 5 yet? Or, I mean...
No, then that means it's not a problem.
Then it's not a problem.
Okay. And that's fair. Listen, the evidence says I'm wrong. I mean, the evidence does. The league's very popular, making obscene amounts of money. There's nothing wrong with the league anywhere.
Well, maybe in Jacksonville.
Make it dadgum. Good point. To those in Tampa, St. Pete, have yourselves a great rest of your day. The Florida Sports Network.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Visit gpstpete.com now to secure the best seats.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made to order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local, eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Now, is David implying the same principle to the pass interference rule?
I don't know. You'd have to ask David. I mean, he could be back in 30 seconds.
I know, but listen to what I'm going to say.
Why don't?
Is it the same principle as a player slashing in the paint in basketball, attempting a layup?
I don't know because I'm not David.
What do you think, Mark? You know,
I think pass interference is the same as a player going into the lane?
Because look, if it's a lob in the end zone and you want to leave him alone.
But you're talking about one play in the end zone. We're talking about the whole, because we're talking about end zone plays. We're talking about every pass.
Okay, every pass. You got to leave him alone until the ball gets to him. But as soon as the ball hits him, what if it's one of those things like in basketball where you get ball and hand, or you get ball and you continues through hand, so it looks violent? Is it?
I wonder if something changed.
That's hard to call.
Just saw two people walking down the hallways here. None of them with a mask on. Something changed.
I don't know. I got him asking me what you think about if this is. Does David think that this? I don't know. Wait till he walks back in the damn room.
That guy will be back
in about 30 seconds.
What do you want to know?
I'm saying that. Are you implying to implicate the same principle for the pass interference rule as like a player attempting a layup in the paint in traffic?
I think it should be really simple. Like in the NBA, supposedly, when a player is dribbling the basketball, you are not allowed to put your hands on them.
Yes.
If they allow it, you can only put it like for balance. You can't in any way impede him. So you cannot grab. You cannot push. You can, like he's dribbling and you put your hand on it. That's it.
Is there hand checking in the NFL right now?
Hand checking?
I guess
there's assault.
Yes, exactly. But is it allowed?
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Yes. Downfield.
In fact, it's hand checking's allowed essentially until the ball goes in the. David, help me, right? Hand checking's allowed when the ball's thrown. Technically, they should stop.
Well, and actually, even technically, they're allowed to down the field. They're allowed to be jostling so long as they do not impede.
And yeah, you can't grab.
Right. Cannot slow someone down or push them away or what have you.
This commercial reminded me of a thing. There's just a TikTok video that I saw and basically scared the crap out of this chef. She turned around with flour, and it was I Feel Good, James Brown.
Right.
She turned around, the must have like literally. She just took the flour, just went right back in her face, the whole thing. And she drops the pan, and you can see her, and she buckles her fists. The best part was you got her, and she just buckled her fist like she was going to hit her, spit out this big hunk of flour, and then just gets this enough of a smile like, yeah, you got me. And I want to kill everybody in the room. I must have watched it 14 times and just kept laughing because I like a good scare. I like scaring the crap out of people.
Anthony's on hold, and we're back in 20.
Okay. All right.
He was just on DAE. Top of last hour.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. The Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. It has been a while, but it is great to welcome back Anthony Becht. Over a dozen years in the NFL. He's just Jets in the preseason. He covers the Bucs because of proximity and then some. You can follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Becht. Anthony, been following you from afar and your exploits with your sons in football. It looked like you had a terrific fall. How you been?
Yeah, we did. It's great to be back on, guys. Yeah, it was a fun season. Got to coach and help out this year again. My son's senior year, and it was obviously we wanted to go, a little farther in the playoffs, but we got knocked out in the first round. But again, we had a good season. He had a great career, and we're excited in the future. And he'll be early signing on Wednesday to Iowa State, so we're excited about it.
Fantastic! Awesome. Congratulations. That's great stuff right there. I am curious, Anthony. We were talking about this earlier in the show, and having you on, I want to get your perspective. I've watched what Kittle did yesterday, and we already know Kelsey and we see Gronkowski. Anthony, are we about to enter the golden age of the tight end?
Well, it's really remarkable because, when you look at a guy like Gronk, the stuff that he's doing at his age and this far in his career is really spectacular. I mean, it's just hard to do it. You talk about what Brady does at his career and how long he's played, but think about the rigors of Gronkowski and in the trenches and all the things that he's still doing at a high level, and it has nothing to do with catching the ball. He just does everything great. And as far as receiving the ball, yeah, these guys are special. I mean, I think there's such a high competition level with so many great players that on every team that have tight ends that can catch the ball and do great things. These guys just go out there, work, train, and want to be great, and they just become huge parts of their offenses for their team. So it's been fun to watch, and it is a resurgence because these guys, a lot of these players are in the peak of their career at the same time outside of Gronk, and he's probably doing it as better as anyone.
Anthony, when you look at them and the position, is there a difference that you see from when you were a first-round pick?
Yeah, I think overall, most of these guys are a little more one-sided. I'll tell you, though, but, Gronk still is the complete tight end. I think teams all want the complete tight end. I think a guy like Kittles does it, even at his size, does a great job of being a complete tight end. Not everybody is built in that system. Waller is an awesome tight end, but, he can't do some of the things that Gronk or some of these other guys can do as a complete tight end. Even a guy like Kelsey, he's not going to try to get in there and mess around too much with the blocking stuff and things of that nature, but he's still just a fantastic talent for his size. So, I think teams all want the complete guy. I just think they're hard to find when you get them. They're special, but, outside of that, if you can do the one thing that makes them great is, catching the ball in those matchups, as long as you have your speed and you catch the ball and you're clean, and you can run routes like a receiver, you'll always have an edge over linebackers and safeties.
When you look at the Bucs right now, is there a weakness in your estimation?
Well, I think the one weakness is when they get big leads. It's hard to keep them because teams all of a sudden they start reaching and they do some things, and all of a sudden you find yourself getting into a close game. So just being a finisher, but right now I think they're dangerous. I just feel like there's not a lot of answers. I mean, as much as we could probably say, oh, the defense kind of let it down. How about that first half? That would have annihilated any team. Let alone the Buffalo Bills, the first half of what Josh Allen had to go through every single snap, the pressure, the team speed, couldn't do anything. It was just an unbelievable performance. I mean, I was watching Get Up and Rex Ryan talking about they got holes in their defense and they're not the quote unquote Ravens. I'm like, man, these guys are good now. I don't know how you can sit there and watch a first half of football like that and say to yourself that this Bucs defense isn't dangerous, and the fact that they're missing pieces. So Todd Bowles, exceptional coach. Offense is clearly too much to handle, man. Leonard Fournette, I think, has been a difference maker this year. He's playing every week like he played the last 4 or 5 games of the season last year in the playoffs. And that's a problem because, when AB comes back and the guys that they got now, I mean, there's guys open. Multiple guys are open. Hell, Perryman won the game for him yesterday. So it's dangerous. And the one thing about Brady, he doesn't care who you are. He clearly has his guys he likes to go to more than others. But if you're open and you can get, just catch the ball, man, you're going to be the guy. So right now, I just don't see, who that team is from top to bottom that can match up. I mean, there are out there, but as far as the way they're playing now, it's everybody's trying to do and stop what they're doing. And I just think they're the favorites heading into the run.
Winners of 4 in a row, and with a very favorable schedule now the rest of the way. The Bucs, who are currently the 3 seed, but Arizona and Green Bay have more challenging games on their schedule than Tampa Bay has on theirs. We're talking the NFL with Anthony Becht. Follow him on Twitter at Anthony_Becht. We were talking before you came on. I made the statement, Anthony, that I think the NFL has a pass interference problem that needs to somehow, some way be figured out and be corrected going forward. And I know it's not going to happen between now and the Super Bowl, but do you agree with that premise that the league has a PI problem?
Yeah, a little bit of inconsistency in my opinion. I mean, look, I just don't feel like Evans was pass interfered with in overtime on that last drive. Oh, that was a terrible call, but helped the Bucs, right? And Stephon Diggs may have been interfered with in that game at the end. Wasn't called. So what's the consistency? I really think, honestly, I mean, again, it would slow the game down, but is there a possibility, a way you can quickly review it real quick just to say thumbs up or thumbs down, but then again, you're putting the eyes on it. Then when you slow things down, you can call pass interference pretty much every snap. So, it's tricky, man. It's all subjective. And, for me, I just feel like, look, these guys study it. They understand it. They see the film, what they're looking for. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Maybe if anything, don't make it a spot foul. Maybe get like the college rules. That may be better, but you probably get more of those fouls just because of the fact that if you're getting beat, they'll pull somebody, and then all of a sudden it's an advantage to you. So buyer beware, right, with anything. So it obviously is a big deal, though, in big games, and it's going to happen. So teams just have to deal with it, and DBs have to play with better technique. And it's unfortunate because it's an offensive league, man. The rules are made for the offenses to go, and it's tough for a defensive back sometimes. Sometimes I scratch my head on the technique, but overall, you're right. I mean, it can be a concerning problem for teams, especially in close games.
If we just take that top 25% of the league, and who those teams are, who's not in that top 8 teams, if you will, that you look at and go, man, I wouldn't want to play them in round 1 of the playoffs?
Well, I think right now the teams that stick out to me that are the teams on both sides, the 4 teams, are Bucs, Packers, and then you have the Patriots and the Chiefs. I think a lot of it's been said about the Chiefs, but they clearly understand, what this run means in December, and they're righting a lot of wrongs, and they look pretty good now all of a sudden. So they found their way. I just don't think Dallas, I don't think the Rams are teams right now that have the ability to make those moves. But, anything can happen in a one-game situation. And I think the Cardinals are the wild card, even though they have the best record. They have not been there. They have not done that. It's all kind of new for them. So, can they win tonight? Can they continue to get through their season? Do they get a bye? Can they have all the games come through them? I mean, there's no real advantage for them having the games at their place. It's, it's outside of the crowd, which is huge, but it's going to be perfect conditions for every team that go in there. So, Packers would be the only team you wouldn't want to give them home field advantage, but the Bucs went up there and beat them last year on their field. So, those are the four teams right now are problem. I think the Patriots are interesting. I mean, a Bucs Patriots Super Bowl would be like literally the grand finale of NFL history. I mean, you talk about money, ratings, everything you could possibly want, storylines, 2 weeks to get ready for the game. I mean, would that be the sickest combination ever? But, hey, you never know what's going to end up. Obviously, I would lean on the Bucs getting there more than the Pats, but it could happen, man. I mean, rookie quarterback's always tough, though.
And Anthony, speaking of quarterbacks, as this season has played out, if you're the Packers, I mean, can you really go through with plan A? I mean, seriously? I don't care what you get for him. You can't let him leave, can you?
It's kind of embarrassing, honestly. I think it's people in the organization and that just they just make it about them. Like, no one player is bigger than. Well, yeah, he is. We watched him play yesterday. Everything's just so smooth, man. It's just every play you have a chance. I mean, you can't say that about any other quarterbacks except maybe Tom Brady. And they got so many weapons. I just can't imagine why you wouldn't want to try to. I mean, what is he, 36 or 7? I mean, he's not even close to Brady's age. So it's like, why would you try to mess that up? Who cares if Jordan Love's on the team? You know what? I mean, quarterbacks got drafted in the second, third round, the Patriots, when Brady was there just in case, and then they just played their contracts out and they left. Ryan Mallett, some of these names that they drafted early, Garoppolo. It doesn't matter. Like, that's your insurance policy. That's fine. But just the way they go about stuff, man, I would love to see Rodgers leave. I just feel like, that would be a great storyline. I think it would work well for the NFL with Brady leaving. I think it will work well for Rodgers as well. But he understands, like, okay, I got to go somewhere that I can match these weapons and things that I have, even though Packers may be a crappy spot from an outside looking in kind of situation. But look, he's going to, I guess, hold the cards here at some point, and be interesting to see how it goes down. But yeah, man, just treacherous decision process on how they do things with the Packers.
And Anthony, finally, since you do cover the Jets, I don't know how much different the situation is in New York than it is in Jacksonville, except there's no organizational dysfunction. But, Jacksonville didn't put much around their franchise quarterback. Well, the Jets didn't put a line anyway, and a whole lot around their young franchise quarterback. They don't have a veteran mentor for them, just like Jacksonville. I mean, Anthony, did they just do it again with this guy that they did with Sam Darnold? I mean, have they done everything wrong year one?
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly organizational dysfunction is a big deal, and that's something they definitely don't have in New York as opposed to Jacksonville. Look, I think as of right now, I think the steps for Zach Wilson have been a little slower than maybe anticipated. He did miss 4 games because of a knee injury. Now it's playing with a knee brace. He needed all those reps, man, just to see improvement. You see splash stuff, you see moments. You don't see the consistencies of same guy, don't drop below the line, but okay, you don't go above the line, but you're at least the same. You're not seeing that yet. So is there a reason for concern, I think, for the organization, the coaches, or myself as I watch it, cover the team every week? I don't say yet because, again, there's just not enough information, and they are just literally, I think it was 15 of their opening roster starters, okay, are not playing. And that's not, it's more defensively, but you're right. The thing with me is offensive line's intact outside of Becht, but they do have two other tackles that are really good players. You should be able to function and do things in a positive light. Where I look at some of these other quarterbacks and some of these other offensive lines, it's a travesty, right? So those things you would say, okay, well, why isn't it clicking a little bit? Why aren't we making play? Why aren't we able to do much? with our offensive line intact. So that's something they have to figure out. And, they got 4 more games. Is that enough for him to kind of take the next step and be confident about him next year? No, it may not be, but he'll have the experience under his belt. They got 10 draft picks for next year. They got back-to-back picks, I think 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 heading in if the season ends today, which are scary picks this year in the draft because I'd say the top 3 players everybody knows. After that, it could be anybody, which is, now it's really on the GM and their guys to do their job. But, look, it's tough, man. It's a tough market, and something you'll always have to deal with in New York until they get it right. But I'd love to see the team that was supposed to be on the field for at least 8 weeks of the season before anything terrible happens. But even their top 4 free agents guys are on IR, if you can imagine that. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. I just scratch my head when I see these guys that go on the they did draft 4 studs, though, outside of, Zach Wilson, that are, Elijah Moore and Elijah Vera Tucker and Michael Carter, the running back. Those dudes are going to be around for a long time. So it's just, Zach gets it right and they add some pieces. They could turn this thing around and be a pretty good team here moving forward.
Anthony Becht, who does pre and post on the Jets and, of course, played for and covers the Bucs. You can follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Becht. That's Anthony_Becht. Anthony, all the best to you and the family. Enjoy Wednesday. It's a special day. If we don't talk before the holiday, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I appreciate that. Happy holidays, guys. Thanks for having me.
Anthony Becht, kind enough to join us once again. We'll react to some of what he had to say.
And we're going to go across the pond for a screw-up that I've not seen since Patrick Ewing became a Knick.
Huh. I didn't realize that was a screw-up.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That wasn't a screw-up. Just the bent card was a screw-up.
Oh, come on now. They did not put that envelope in the freezer.
Right.
16 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Top 5 tight end. Well, let's see. Kelsey, Gronk, Kittle, Waller,
Pitts.
Here's a question. Are we already willing to put Pitts that high or no?
Well, he'll be there soon, but right now, probably not.
I mean, so, I'll definitely put him top 8. I think he's one of the top 25% of tight ends in the league. Absolutely.
I'd put Andrews ahead of him.
What about Dawson Knox?
I would, but that's really close.
He's had a hell of a year.
That's really, really close. I think Knox has turned out to be a hell of a good player.
What about Hunter Henry?
Can't stay healthy.
Can't stay healthy. I would put Goddard in that group, and this is not a knock at all. Whoever types this, I think he's in that whole. By the way, the Detroit guy's better than him too.
You think the 8th pick there from Iowa a couple of years ago?
I'll take him. Sorry, I didn't even. He's a great tight end. He just happens to play for a terrible football team.
Gesicki's on the come up.
Yeah, he doesn't block though. Goddard blocks more than Gesicki. Nobody considers that anymore because they don't care. But
yeah, But that's very important to consider.
I mean, I think he's like right there with the Higbees and the Hoopers and I actually think the kid from Pittsburgh's pretty decent. I think there's a whole group of that next guy. I don't think he's in that first tier, or if you know what I mean.
Well, I'm not saying Gesicki's better than Goddard, but I'm saying that he's on the come up. He's
very
young.
No, I think Gesicki's. I think I'd take Gesicki over Goddard. But I think they're all in that.
Really?
I think they're all in that same group. I think they're all in that number 2 group.
Okay. What about
And it's just a game to game. It's who's your quarterback? How do you set it up? Goddard could go somewhere else and be even better. I think Hockenson, you put him on a real team, he could be right in the same sentence with the Kittles of the world. But he plays for Detroit.
What about Zach Ertz?
No,
not because he can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
no.
Healthy, yes.
Now Ertz a couple of years ago, yes.
And when those two were playing together and both healthy, my
Yeah.
goodness, that was something.
That's a tight end tandem right there.
I lobbied all offseason for Jacksonville to acquire Ertz.
I'd
And
take
to think-
Hockenson over Goddard relief. I would. I'm telling you right now.
And to think that Arizona got Ertz for a 6th round pick.
It's insane.
I mean, it's obvious Trevor could use a little help.
What happened to Mason Rudolph? Injury? Mason Rudolph.
Look at that. Did Seth get in? Is that in the booth or
Vikings.
outside the booth? Looks outside the booth.
What?
Seth and you.
Oh, that was at the hotel.
Yeah, it's not in the booth. You said you'd be in the booth.
Kyle Rudolph. There you go. Kyle
Yeah,
Rudolph.
he was on the 7th floor. I was on the 3rd.
Mason Rudolph. Whatever happened to Kyle Rudolph?
He's with the Giants. He's old. He had a long touchdown the other game.
The one that's not been the player that I thought he would be is what's his name from the Vikings? Irv Jones from Bama.
Smith.
Irv Smith. Smith Jones. I took a 50-50 shot there, David. I knew.
Ooh.
No, I know.
Ooh, Mark Andrews.
That's why I said him a long time ago.
Oh, sorry.
Like, I think Canadian Relief Benefits answers right. I take Goddard out. I would put Hockenson in instead.
Well, first they stopped passing to Rudolph, then they stopped passing to Smith. I think it's a quarterback issue, personally. I don't think he throws to his tight ends.
Then there's that.
Yeah, Hockenson by far is the best receiver on Detroit. That's the problem.
Is Gronk the best blocking tight end in the NFL?
I don't. Him or Kittle. He's definitely. I mean, those two are so ridiculous. They're actually asked to block defensive ends. No, that are, and I mean like an obvious pass situation, and they just take them 1-on-1. I mean, that's ridiculous.
They're monsters.
They're monsters, but they're also technically so sound. That's just not being a.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
23 minutes after the hour, the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts. All of that. Like a jambalaya that comes together about 15 minutes from now.
You know, it's funny. I saw a recipe for jambalaya. Like it's kind of a ripoff. They do it with pasta instead of rice. It looked pretty damn good, David.
Huh.
Little thing you've said on this show, Acts 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if you've said it in Act 3 yet, but you have a little quote that you say, to err is human.
But to really things up, you need a computer.
Well, I take you to the Champions League round of 16 draw because they just redid it this morning about 23 minutes ago. Because the first draw had to be redone because, as the European football governing body blamed a technical problem with the software of an external service provider.
What?
For causing a material error with the draw procedure. Man U was scheduled to play Villarreal, and the matchup was ineligible because they played in the same group. So then they put Man City in to play against the Spanish club. But the ball containing Man U's name was not put back into the pot.
Oh,
And so the whole thing got screwed up.
right.
But basically, they had 8 games. I mean, this is a big deal over there.
Right.
The Champions League's a big deal. And they had all the games. It was Man U against PSG. It was the Munich team against Atletico Madrid. I mean, all these matchups, done. We got to redo the whole thing.
Okay.
So I just find that to be hilarious that a league had a computer problem that screwed up the draw for a tournament.
So they screwed up the ping pong balls?
Yeah,
Because they didn't use ping pong balls.
apparently, or they didn't put a ping pong ball back. You just got to be very careful when you start saying ping pong and balls all the time and not get yourself in a little bit of trouble.
Right.
Because they were pinging and ponging.
They just didn't put the ball back.
Right.
Right. Got it. Okay. You know, I don't pay attention to the European soccer, but I thought I saw here this morning that Ronaldo and Messi are facing each other in the round of 16.
They were going to.
Oh,
But
and that
that's
got
what
canceled?
Well, we shall see, because it did have the two going against each other, but now that's not the case, because Messi's with PSG and Ronaldo's with Man U, but that no longer is going to happen in the first round.
Gotcha. All right.
They went all IOC on us, David. That's all I can tell you.
Keep me posted on that sort of thing.
That's all I got. I mean, I don't even care after this. I just like the screw up. It's kind of like the Jacksonville Jags. Speaking of the Jags, it is the crux of our poll question today.
We've got 2 of them, one sports, one Christmas.
The sports one is simply, where will Urban Meyer be working 1 year from now? Will he be the Jags head coach? Will he be back on Fox doing the pregame show? Or will he be hosting tables at his Columbus bar?
That's winning, last I saw. And in fact, had over 50% of the vote.
Still does. And then very simply, is your Christmas tree real or fake? About 70% of you have fake trees. All right. Seems about right.
Do you think it's wildly different depending on what region of the country you are?
Absolutely. Where I grew up, nearly everybody had a real tree, because there were, 2 different Christmas tree farms you could go to cut your tree down.
I understand.
And they were a lot less expensive compared to places where trees were shipped.
But you did use the word had. That's what I'm wondering. Have we just changed? I mean, it's a lot like, I can't believe I'm making this analogy, but it's a lot like going from natural grass to artificial turf. Everybody prefers grass. Turf, though, is just, it's easier. It's simpler.
But see, David, at least in the Gnaw, you'd go out to Cluck's Nursery. You'd cut your tree down. Put the tree in the car, because you drive the car right out there. You cut it down, strap it to the top, put it in the trunk, whatever the case may be, back of the bed of the pickup. And then you pay on your way out. You just hand them the tag that's on the tree, and they charge you, and then they hand you popcorn balls for everybody that's in the car.
Really?
And all I know, David, is that I still, on social media, and if any of my Saginaw buddies happen to be listening in one of the many ways you can listen to this show, tell me if you're still doing Clucks, but I still see the social media pictures of people that I know went as kids that are now taking their kids doing the same thing. So and I think in Pennsylvania, like my in-laws are from Pittsburgh, and I think that there a lot more people do real trees there because of the availability of getting them and the cost, etc. Felipe, at the Alvarez home on the other coast, are you a real tree person or a fake tree person?
Never have we ever even thought about getting a fake tree. That is sacrilegious. We need that smell.
Do you know you can just buy some wax, put it in the thing, and
come on.
And get a candle.
Fake.
You can even get it and put it in your car.
Fugazi. Fake.
I like your style. When we bought our new house and you've been to my place, we had the big tree, but it took 3 of us to get it in. That was a one-time deal. That ended.
We'll just downsize.
No. Big room, big tree.
True. Gotta go big or go home.
Logic Man in our Twitch chat room says, I'm 39. I've never had a real tree. All right. Noreen in our Twitch chat room says, in Pennsylvania, all right, still going real. Used to pay about $40. Now $110.
Woo!
Damn.
Right.
All I know is that big tree we got was expensive. I only got to get through like 8 years of the fake tree to get that sucker paid off. Once we get to year 9 with this tree,
Right.
we're clearly in the black.
So what do you got? You're about 2-3 years with it?
No,
now?
this is year 4.
So you're halfway there, basically.
Or I'm sorry, year 3, because we did move in right after Christmas. So this is year 3 with the fake tree.
So you're a third of the way
yeah,
there.
I'm
Okay.
still working
All right.
fine.
So that'll be great. By the time your daughter's a teenager, it's all profit from there. Look at it that way.
Right.
Right. Of course, by then you got to start buying the really expensive Christmas gifts, but that's a whole other story.
And another thing I want to mention about getting real trees is that what we do every year is that after Christmas, we use it as a bonfire.
Yeah, people up north actually plant them back into the ground and they grow, believe it or not.
Wow. Couldn't imagine.
No, I doubt you could.
Nope.
Not very good soil there.
Never shoveled ice in my driveway either.
I don't recommend it.
Maybe your career path, Felipe, will take you,
You know, that's a great point, Felipe. You want to get into this and you think, because in your head right now, I'm
Right.
going to work for these guys for a little while, then I'll be on in Miami.
Exactly. I'll tolerate these two yahoos for about a year.
It was
maybe
like
a
the
year
other
and a half.
intern we had who was going to be doing Giants pre and post by the time he had his 21st birthday.
Exactly.
And I'm sure he's, at a McDonald's now or a grocery store saying paper or plastic. But, Felipe, there's a chance that the job that opens up is in Fargo.
I'm open to it.
Really? Okay. Scottsbluff, Nebraska, 15.5. Because I had that offer once.
Well, so we'll just go 31 because it's, that long ago.
Well, that's true. That offer was in the mid 90s.
Right.
So we'll almost double it. I'll make you the main guy in Scottsbluff, Nebraska for $28,000. Go.
Boy, he doesn't look very excited.
Scottsbluff,
That
by
is
the way.
That is a look like, man, Miller and Moulton told me not to get into this line of work.
Yeah. Scottsbluff, Nebraska, the far western part of Nebraska, that little almost panhandle-like area of Nebraska. Yeah, you're an hour from Laramie, Wyoming. Just so you know.
Hello.
But I could make you the main guy in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. I know the guy. All right. Just so you know, your Fridays, you spend all day driving to Lincoln. Then you spend your whole Saturday at Lincoln covering the Cornhuskers. You send all your stuff back, and then you spend your Sunday driving back to Scottsbluff. 28 grand, baby. Could be yours.
But you're going to be on TV and wear Scott's Bluff.
Yep.
Probably don't even have to pay for probably your first Miller Genuine draft is free every week at the local pub.
You'll be big, huge. Just so you know. And that Mahomes jersey you're wearing right there, that's who they root for. Them and the Broncos.
Get that in an old school Elway jersey, you're all set.
I can make it happen for you. You're with the movers and shakers, Felipe. Don't kid yourself. Mark will get you a job in Wheeling in the ECHL. All right. I mean, just keep it here, buddy. Keep it here.
You can try to do what Miller and Moulton have been doing for most of their careers, seeing if they can fail upward
or sideways. Right.
Either way, we just don't want to keep going downhill. But with that being said, we finish the show the same way every day with today was the day when, and good, the bad, and the ugly, what's on tap. That's all still ahead right here. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. The Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Omaha Steaks.
Oh no, 2 dead after jet ski accident near Lover's Key.
Oh, really?
What are these people?
Oh, damn.
Oh, it happened in front of Flippers too, David.
Oh, wow.
We don't lovers that.
And they were rented jet skis. Oh, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
You know, I will say, if it wasn't for the good, the bad, and the ugly, I would not expect half the crazy stuff that happens in this area to happen. Nebraska. What do you do in Nebraska? Look at corn?
You do a little more than look at corn.
There's a great line.
You eat corn.
Oh, you eat corn. That's right. You look at it, you eat it. There's a great line from an episode of Family Guy where Stewie and Brian are at a diner in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska. And they walk in, they're like, "Oh, any movies going on?" They're like, "No, nothing really." "Any news?" No, nothing." "What about corn?" "Corn? Corn? Oh, I love corn." "Corn, yeah, I can talk about corn all day. All types of corn. Yeah, corn." Whole restaurant goes crazy. You go noodling for catfish in the local water hole. Huh. I don't know. Didn't Ozuna get dealt? Like, he wasn't part of the Braves when they won, was he? Pretty sure he got dealt somewhere.
I thought he was just on the suspended list and never
That's
activated.
right. Because, what, he assaulted his girlfriend or something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know.
My guess is he will not get a ring.
Right. The Big Bear. We loved him in Miami.
And trying to think, is he suspended for the first 20 games of next year? No. So he's eligible to start next year.
Adam, we'll get to that point. Sorry if you don't like it. Nice.
We didn't mention them the whole show.
Yeah, I was about to say, we haven't mentioned them
Not once
today. Yeah. So
not once. And Felipe doesn't count during commercials.
that was your. We didn't even mention them during commercials.
Well,
10 seconds.
I'm guessing if Ozuna is part of their future, they'll give him a ring. But if they're planning on
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
As we approach 20 minutes before the hour, the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Pat Kerwin to join us on the show tomorrow. Want to get right to it?
Sure.
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
Going to go back 385 years ago today.
Whoa.
1636. The Massachusetts Bay Colony organizes 3 militia regiments to defend the colony against the Pequot Indians. It is recognized today as the founding of the U.S. National Guard.
Huh, look at that.
Mark, first music store opens in 1759. Now, I love the fact they say first music store opens in the U.S. We were not the U.S. in 1759, were we? Am I missing something?
Actually, I'm reading it as first store in America.
Okay.
Doesn't say the United States.
All right.
So
we'll give them that.
all right. I just, I'm not trying to, but we have to mince words here.
Care to guess first music store?
It was Guitar Center, right?
That's tremendous. Well done. Right next to a Blockbuster. Yes. Come on, there weren't a lot of big cities back then. I mean, it's one of 3.
Let's go Philly.
All right, good guess. You could have gone New York.
It's one or the other.
There you go.
Well, when you did that to me, I figured it wasn't New York.
All right, let's go sports. 1936, the Green Bay Packers defeat the Boston Redskins 21-6. Head coach Curly Lambeau, they won their 4th NFL championship. That would be the last game the Boston Redskins ever play. They moved to Washington, D.C. for the 1937 season. Do you remember the other day we were talking about the National League voting out the spitball retroactively in like the 20s? In 1949, the American League, at least enough people in it, wanted to bring the spitball back, and they had a formal vote. They voted it down. 1950, Mark, James Dean makes his professional debut in a Pepsi commercial.
Probably a good get. They would start a show Entourage based. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was a different commercial.
A little different. Yeah. 1956, on this day, the Dodgers trade Jackie Robinson from Brooklyn across town to the New York Giants for Dick Littlefield, who was a pitcher, and $35,000, which is not chump change in 1956. Jackie Robinson says, hold on a second. You want me to play for the Giants? Yeah. I quit. I'm retired. 1961, the Beatles signed with manager Brian Epstein. 2 years later, he would work out a deal with Capitol Records where they would have right of first refusal on the Beatles' music. I was not aware of this in 1964. The U.S. and Mexico agreed to divert the Rio Grande, which reshaped the U.S.-Mexico border. Apparently, they set off a bunch of explosives. They moved the river.
Wonder if they do it differently now.
Boy, does that open up a can of worms. I think I'll move on to 1973.
Good call.
When the World Football League made their first franchise, Detroit. I think they did that for Danielson. Saturday Night Live, for the first time on this date in 1975, used a time delay because the host was Richard Pryor and they were scared blankless.
And rightly so. It is the show that Lorne Michaels credits putting SNL on the map. It was fledgling. The ratings were not great. I would ask you to go watch the skit with Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase. If you have no familiarity with the early SNLs, go watch and read the articles, because a lot have come out in the last couple of weeks about Pryor and this particular skit, because apparently SNL was pretty good over the weekend with Billie Eilish on. There was a couple of really good skits, made a lot of rounds on social
Pete
media.
Davidson apparently was really good.
Yeah, I mean, so it was apparently a good show, but I'm just telling you, David and I always joke of like Blazing Saddles and shows like that couldn't be on. This wouldn't have made it out of the writer's room.
On this date in 1977, 14 University of Evansville basketball players died in a plane crash. It was on this date mark in 1983. You probably remember it growing up, the highest scoring NBA game ever. Now, it helped that it went 3 overtimes, but the Pistons beat the Nuggets 186-184.
Yep. God, that was fun. Those Pistons teams were so much fun. They were just starting to get good.
Isaiah, Tripucka, John Long, right? They were just up and down.
John Long could chuck it.
Yes, he could.
He could chuck it.
Mark, it was on this date in 1989, Driving Miss Daisy was released.
I used to jog past that home quite often when I lived in Atlanta. It was right by where I lived for my last year and a half in that city.
1 year later, South African President de Klerk meets with Nelson Mandela and says, hey, what do you say we end this whole apartheid thing? And Mandela says, well, I've spent enough time in prison.
Only been in jail for half my life. It would be great.
I'm in favor of it. What took you so long? It was on this date in 96 that Roger Clemens left the Red Sox and signed a free agent deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Charles Woodson wins his Heisman on this date in 97. Ron Dane does so in 99. Jason White in 03. Cam Newton in 2010. Mariota in 2014. And Derrick Henry in 2015. Back to Clemens. 11 years after he signs with the Blue Jays, the Mitchell Report is released. It lists 89 players who use steroids and HGH. The most prominent of the ones named, Roger Clemens. If I can go back, Al Gore conceded the election in 2000 on this day. We captured Saddam Hussein on this date in 2003. Selma Hayek accuses Harvey Weinstein of sexual harassment and threatening to kill her 4 years ago. Kicking off that thing. And it was a year ago today, Mark, that Lewis Hamilton won his 4th consecutive and 7th F1 championship. Birthdays on this day, Mark. Dick Van Dyke is 96. Carl Erskine from the Brooklyn Dodgers is 95. Ferguson Jenkins is 78. Ted Nugent is 73. Steve Buscemi is 64. Richard Dent is 61. Jamie Foxx is 54. And Taylor Swift is 32. That's what
Pretty
I got.
good career already at 32. I'm not a big fan, but
Right.
With all the hits, you would think just a little bit older, if you know what I mean. That's all. That's really all I had with her. The only thing I had that you missed, and you would have, this is just for me, really isn't for anybody else, David.
Okay.
But I just laugh at these because Dark Star, which is a Big Dead song, they played it for the first time at the Shrine Exhibition Hall today in 1967. The song on the studio version of the album runs 2:44. I was trying to find one of my versions that I have, and just to see how long one of the live versions. Yeah, here's one that's off of Fillmore East. It comes in at 19 minutes and 42 seconds.
So hold on a second.
The
So
studio version is 2:44. Dark Star is one of the all-time great jam songs that the Dead do. The fact that it's a 2-minute, 44-second song that routinely will be 20 minutes plus in concert is kind of, and it was played for the first time live today in 67.
So that would have been the refreshment song. Hey, we'll hang out here until they play Dark Side. Then we'll go.
Drums in space for me. They would always do the drum solo and a lot of, yeah, you've seen it once, you've seen it 100 times. Unless you're really on some heavy hallucinogenics, it's
All right.
time to move on.
All right.
You've
Good.
heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I had a good all set, and it could go a bunch of different ways. I do want to tell the story, but I have a better good. With all the tornadoes, lady found a picture on her windshield, black and white photo of Greta and JD Swartzel or something like that. Anyhow, Katie Poston founded it. It was 130 miles away from the home in which it blew from. And through Facebook and social media, they got the picture back to the owners who lost it in the tornadoes. I just thought that was a crazy story. But this one has more to do with today's show. Apparently, Felipe, you have it on all of us, because studies show that real Christmas trees are better for your mental health than artificial trees.
Boom. Christmas spirit.
Whatever. For the bad, we go to Naples, where Jose Ramirez and Robert Perez were arrested over the weekend trying to steal a dog. The victim said she thinks the person sitting her dog while she was in jail for 9 months was trying to get the dog back, which leads to a whole nother set of questions. If you dog sit a dog for 9 months while someone's in jail, do you have rights to said dog? Doesn't allow anybody to go steal it. Both were apprehended and taken to jail. And finally, the ugly. I'm telling you right now, if you have kids in the car, change the station. And I'm not joking.
Uh-oh.
No,
Wow.
I'm not joking. I'm going to give you about 4 seconds because I don't want kids to hear this.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
We go to Rome for the ugly, where the Pope in the Roman Catholic Diocese in Sicily had to publicly apologize after Bishop Antonio Staglianetto told a bunch of kids 2 weeks before the holiday.
No.
Exactly. The diocesan communication director issued an apology saying he was trying to underline the true meaning of Christmas and not the story of St. Nicholas.
He didn't.
He did.
Seriously?
Yes.
They still do lashes? Do they take you out back and do lashes?
They should.
Unbelievable. Come on now.
I mean, they've got enough problems already. Do you think they really need to go after the big guy?
I mean,
you know, their
please.
big guy does not have the same track record as that big guy.
Well, I think it depends on your point of view.
Certainly does, David. And that is the good, the bad, and the big guy ugly on 12-13-21.
I think if you're under 10, the one big guy has got a great track record. 10 or older, you know, it starts to shift to the other
Your
one.
guy may be bigger than my guy up there, but my guy's bigger than your guy down here. You got a point.
Always nice to go mob movie when talking about the Pope and the big fella and the North Pole and all that.
I'm still a week. I went to confession last week. I'm fine, David. I'm absolutely fine. I'm telling you right now.
Well, I mean, your next plan to go in, what is it, 20?
It's been 35 years.
So your next one's in 2056.
Either that or it's going to be with St. Peter in person.
Right. Hey, it's the old George Carlin line. Do I get all my socks and pens back?
This is the time of the show when our young Catholic high school grad gets very nervous over there.
He's like, that job in Scottsbluff right now sounds great.
He's just afraid his mom might be listening. He
Right.
doesn't want to have to explain any of this around the holidays.
I don't really like them. They just offered me a job. I had to say yes.
You know, that whole FGCU thing. We get a big
Right.
break if I have a job when I graduate.
Exactly.
Got to hold on to this sucker for 6 more months. That's
Right.
it.
And listen, if I'm getting up at 5 and listening to them for 4 hours a day, you have to as well.
Pat Kerwin will join us tomorrow on the show as we start getting, his views on the NFL.
Rams Cardinals tonight. Cardinals a 2.5-point favorite. If they win the West. I mean, they'll be 3 up with 4 to play. They will have swept the Rams. So it's another team that really, Mark, has a chance to officially clinch a division title.
I like the Cardinals tonight.
I like the Cardinals too.
I think this is a big game for the Rams in terms of, Are we really going to believe in them? Can they even go to Dallas and win a 4-5 game? Don't you have to figure out a way to split with Arizona? Then we'll start believing again.
100%. 100%. But they're an aging team that not a lot of depth, and I like what the Cardinals have to offer right now.
Cardinals rush the passer well, defend the pass well, don't defend the run well, but the Rams have struggled to run it. Something has to give. Miller and Moulton. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for supporting the Florida Sports Network.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of